Other monsters yield only single-digit returns on average. Are there any alternative avenues to explore? In the main city, there is no bank or money exchange, which could have offered a chance to secure a loan. Lu Yu possesses a golden mask, which grants him a brand new identity each time he dons it. This enables him to repeatedly borrow money, leaving his creditors utterly oblivious to the identity of the previous borrower, a practice colloquially known as white leeching. Alas, this path seems unfeasible. Perhaps he should consider selling something? Lu Yu glanced into his backpack, finding it nearly devoid of equipment, filled instead with various materials: shallow water crocodile skins, shallow water crocodile meat, the venom sac of a blackwater giant python, and assorted ores. There was little of value. The few pieces of diamond-quality amethyst could fetch a decent sum. Yet Lu Yu was reluctant to part with them. Never mind. It would be best to return and complete the quest. If all else fails, he could craft equipment for players at the northern gate. With his expertise as a high-level armorer, he was certain to attract numerous customers. However, the pace of earning gold would be considerably slower that way. Utilizing the keen sight of his black-headed eagle, Lu Yu surveyed the entirety of Gourd Valley once more. Satisfied that nothing had been overlooked, he mounted his steed and galloped back to the gathering stronghold. At this early hour, just before dawn, the guards were still yawning. Upon seeing Lu Yu's return, they instantly perked up and saluted him, exclaiming, "Welcome back, young master." Lu Yu nodded in acknowledgement, dismounted, and hurried into the stronghold's hall. Inside, there was no sign of Sun Hanyu. She likely had not yet risen. Only 2 maidservants were on duty. Lu Yu instructed them to fetch Sun Hanyu. In truth, he wished to go himself, as finding a legitimate excuse to deliver the quest was no easy feat. However, he quickly recalled the young dragon capable of incinerating him in a single breath, and the pink giant the size of a half-grown gorilla. Best to tread carefully. After a while, Sun Hanyu emerged, rubbing her eyes. "You returned so soon and summoned me? Don't you know that rising early can lead to wrinkles?" Lu Yu replied, "Master, do you prefer sleeping in the nude? Your skin is so smooth, your figure so exquisite, with a mere hint of modesty in strategic places." He swiftly wiped away a red liquid from beneath his nose, and, mustering his resolve, turned his back. Sun Hanyu, puzzled by Lu Yu's awkward maneuver, suddenly sensed something. She hurriedly retrieved her equipment from her backpack and donned it swiftly before saying, "Ahem, have you completely eradicated that goblin horde?" Lu Yu cautiously turned around to see that Sun Hanyu had indeed equipped herself. Perhaps out of a sense of insecurity, she adorned herself in more layers than ever before, even donning protective gear for her long, slender legs. Lu Yu secretly lamented this, reassuring himself that he had seen all he ought to see, and even glimpsed some things he should not have. "Hey, where were you lost in thought?" Lu Yu snapped back to reality, feigning ignorance of the moment that had transpired. "Mentor, I have eradicated the Goblin Legion within the Gourd Valley." Sun Hanyu, with an unspoken understanding, chose not to revisit the earlier incident, instead inquiring, "Your level appears to remain below 40. How much experience do you still require?" "I need an additional 50 experience points and 700,000 gold coins." "Very well." Sun Hanyu nodded. In the next moment, a system notification chimed. "You have completed Mentor Sun Hanyu's task, receiving a reward of 5 favorability points. Sun Hanyu grants you an additional reward, 50 experience points and 700,000 gold coins." Chapter 173, The Azure Bullhide Armor Set. The system prompted, "Your level has reached 40, fulfilling the requirements for your first job advancement. Please proceed to your mentor to accept your job advancement quest." Lu Yu stared at the system notification, momentarily taken aback. What had prompted this unusually generous offering from a mentor who had once been miserly? 50 experience points were one thing, but 700,000 gold coins was quite another. He turned to Sun Hanyu, only to find her gazing back at him. "Don't overthink it. I merely helped you reach level 40, so we can swiftly venture to the other races." "Oh, I thought it might have been a hush money," he jested. "What did you say?" "Nothing, nothing at all. Mentor, what is my job advancement quest?" Lu Yu deftly diverted the conversation. "I will personally guide you through the quest shortly. I need to prepare first. Go assist that old coot in forging some equipment." Sun Hanyu gestured casually towards the hall's exit. Lu Yu followed her gaze and observed Wu Tianchu, his hands a flurry of motion, sweat pouring down his face, with dark circles under his eyes. To his left lay a pile of azure bullhide, while to his right sat numerous meticulously crafted leather armors. It appeared Wu Tianchu had been laboring since the previous day without respite. As an NPC, Wu Tianchu could not forge equipment as Lu Yu did, by merely placing materials into the designated slots. He had to forge each piece himself, which consumed considerable time. Even as a master craftsman, it would take him a day or two to finish such an abundance of azure bullhide. In fact, once the abyss descended, Lu Yu would also have to engage in the crafting process as Wu Tianchu was currently doing. By then, every player, having mastered their respective trades, would have the knowledge ingrained in their minds, ready for immediate application. Sun Hanyu had already returned to her chamber, while Lu Yu stepped out of the hall and approached his mentor. Wu Tianchu, noticing Lu Yu's approach, continued his work without pause. "You little rascal. Where did you wander off to yesterday? I thought I finally had a helping hand, yet here I am, toiling away alone." "Master, you ought to take a moment's respite. You have been laboring tirelessly for nearly a day and a night." Surely, you must be exhausted. Wu Tianju raised his voice, for the sake of the village. Consider that for every piece of equipment I forge, the village sees an increase in revenue, and thus, my fatigue seems less burdensome. He then lowered his voice. The main issue lies with that fierce matron. She insists that I cannot even think of a meal until these tasks are completed. Lu Yu couldn't help but chuckle as he casually browsed through the equipment forged by Wu Tianju. The items were primarily bronze and silver wares, around levels 25 to 30. The materials, blue cowhide, were not particularly exceptional. Crafting silver items from them was nearly the extent of their potential. Nevertheless, the quality and level of these items were precisely what players currently sought, promising a handsome profit. Hey, you rascal, don't just stand there. Lend me a hand. Wu Tianju exclaimed, tossing over several schematics, a 5-piece set of leather armor, akin to the equipment he was presently forging. Lu Yu accepted the schematics and took a cursory glance. The forging materials required merely blue cowhide, and the secondary skill prerequisite was that of an intermediate armorer. The attributes of the set were commendable, and if sold, it could fetch no less than 10,000 gold coins for the entire set. It was worth considering crafting a few sets for the guild members. However, given that Sun Hanyu had just bestowed a generous task reward, he felt reluctant to ask for a favor. This forging method, derived from the characteristics of blue cowhide, is a recent innovation of mine, maximizing the utility of this material. Now, stop dawdling and get to work. Lu Yu picked up several pre-cut pieces of cowhide and placed them into the corresponding slots. After a dazzling array of processing, a brand new piece of leather armor took form. System notification, congratulations. You have successfully forged blue leather armor, silver grade. Forging experience, 100 for blue leather armor, 100 for chest armor. The name, blue leather armor, was undoubtedly coined by Wu Tianju. It was rather unappealing. Couldn't he have exerted a bit more creativity when naming? Wu Tianju looked at Lu Yu with unexpected admiration. Not bad, you little rascal. Even I only have a 70% chance of forging a silver item. You, on your very first attempt, have produced one. What? Were you planning to mock me while I forged bronze items? With his thoughts laid bare, Wu Tianju bore no irritation, instead stating, you are my protege. Your high forging skills reflect my teaching prowess. Lu Yu remained non-committal and continued to pick up blue cowhide, forging the next piece of equipment. After the familiar sounds of crafting, several more items materialized before him. System notification, congratulations. You have successfully forged blue leather boots, silver grade. Forging experience, 100 for blue leather boots, 100 for footwear. System notification, congratulations. You have successfully forged blue leather bracers, silver grade. Forging experience, 100 for blue leather bracers, 100 for arm armor. System notification, congratulations on successfully forging the leather greaves, silver equipment, gaining 100 forging experience in greaves and 100 in general forging. System notification, congratulations on successfully forging the leather belt, silver equipment, gaining 100 forging experience in belts and 100 in general forging. To everyone's surprise, they were all silver equipment. Not only Wu Tianju, but even Lu Yu felt a tinge of astonishment. Although he was now a high-level armorer, the probability of forging silver gear from bronze materials should not be anywhere near 100. Was it pure luck? Wu Tianju initially intended to have Lu Yu assist him if his forging efficiency was not high. However, he soon discovered that Lu Yu not only surpassed him in efficiency, but also produced items of superior quality. Thus, he chose to remain silent and quietly began cutting leather, assisting Lu Yu instead. With the need for manual cutting eliminated, Lu Yu's movements became even more swift. He simply had to pick up the leather, place it in the designated position, and confirm, resulting in the immediate appearance of a piece of equipment. This efficiency left Wu Tianju utterly astonished, muttering continually. Adventurers truly have it good. The once mountainous pile of cowhide had transformed into various leather armors within just a morning, totaling nearly 1,000 pieces. Scattered across the ground were remnants of various sizes. Among these creations, nearly 65 were silver equipment, with the remainder primarily comprising bronze items. Though there were a few black iron pieces as well. Had Wu Tianju personally forged them, these black iron items would likely not have existed. Nonetheless, Lu Yu's current yield of silver items was now nearly on par with Wu Tianju's own. As Wu Tianju sorted through the remaining scraps, which Lu Yu deemed mere waste, he recognized that they could still be reforged into a complete set of equipment in his hands. At that moment, Sun Hanyu finally emerged. Lu Yu had begun to think his mentor had merely gone for a nap, but he was taken aback upon seeing Sun Hanyu's attire. Chapter 174. Revenge. Stepping out of the hall, Sun Hanyu had transformed from her usual simplistic garb into a serious ensemble adorned with all her equipment and accessories. From the crown atop her head to the fabric boots on her feet, everything was in a subtle shade of pink. This palette did not appear monotonous. Rather, it exuded an air of solemnity and elegance. Sun Hanyu approached the pile of leather equipment, examined 2 pieces, and nodded in satisfaction. These items crafted by my apprentice are quite commendable. Tianju, you must ensure they fetch a good price. Wu Tianju, lowering his head to sort through the scraps, muttered quietly, you only know that your apprentice's items are well made. Have you considered who designed the blueprints? As he spoke, a sudden awareness struck him. prompting him to look up. Upon seeing Sun Hanyu's attire, his eyes glistened with emotion. Miss you. I intend to bring some fine wine back home. The round trip may take about 4 to 5 days. During this period, the affairs of the village shall be entrusted to your capable hands. Returning home is indeed a delightful prospect. Wu Tianju gently dabbed the corners of his eyes and remarked, Miss, it has been a long time since you last returned, hasn't it? Sun Hanyu responded with a soft sound, opting for silence thereafter. With a flourish of her staff, a magnificent pink figure materialized, an adorable young dragon. Upon seeing Sun Hanyu's attire, the young dragon seemed to understand something and let out a resonant roar. Sun Hanyu caressed the dragon's wings as a gesture of comfort, then retrieved a generous portion of meat from her pack, personally feeding it to the young dragon. Yaya, do eat more. We have quite a journey ahead, she encouraged. It was revealed that the young dragon was named Yaya. Lu Yu silently committed this name to memory. Yaya eagerly seized the morsel offered by Sun Hanyu, chewing a couple of times before swallowing it whole, seemingly indifferent to the need for thorough mastication. It then snatched the second piece of meat she presented and continued to devour it voraciously. At times, when Sun Hanyu's movements were slightly delayed, Yaya refrained from snatching the food. Instead, it would extend its tongue to lick Sun Hanyu's arm, patiently awaiting her next offering. After consuming several hundred pounds of food, Yaya's pace noticeably slowed, prompting Sun Hanyu to cease her feeding. She gently patted the dragon's wings, and the pink creature obediently settled down. Sun Hanyu then mounted Yaya's back and turned to Lu Yu, saying, Come aboard, let Yaya carry you along. Lu Yu stepped up, finding a secure place to stand. This marked Lu Yu's first experience riding a dragon across 2 lifetimes, stirring a sense of exhilaration within him. Seeing that Lu Yu was steady, Sun Hanyu patted Yaya's still developing horns. Yaya unfurled its wings, instantly summoning a gust of wind. With powerful legs, Yaya propelled itself into the air, soaring skyward. Lu Yu felt a surge of pressure enveloping him, the wind slicing across his face like a blade. However, once the young dragon was fully airborne, that sensation vanished entirely. It appeared that an invisible barrier formed around them, shielding them from the fierce winds of the sky. Sun Hanyu glanced back and chuckled at Lu Yu's disheveled appearance. Yaya is still immature. Its control over its strength is not yet perfected. Just now, it could only protect me and was unable to divide its focus to shield you as well. Lu Yu adjusted his wind-tousled clothes and casually ruffled his hair. Are you certain it is not merely being mischievous, trying to tease me? He jested, a dual-element dragon of wind and fire, unless it has just hatched. How can it be unable to control its own power? Though Lu Yu had never ridden a giant dragon, he was not entirely ignorant of them. At his words, Yaya gave its tail a vigorous flick. Lu Yu, standing behind, nearly lost his balance and stumbled. He quickly fell silent. Sun Hanyu stifled a gentle laugh, tenderly caressing Yaya's back. Upon taking flight, Yaya immediately soared in a specific direction. Lu Yu surveyed his surroundings. Was this the route to Falling Eagle Peak? Sun Hanyu nodded, confirming that they would pass by the peak, but would need to continue eastward for quite some time. Passing by Falling Eagle Peak, Lu Yu's eyes brightened. Master, could we perhaps pause briefly at Falling Eagle Peak? What? Do you have business there? Lu Yu nodded. There is a black-headed eagle, a level 60 dark gold boss that I have yet to vanquish. In fact, I nearly fell victim to that very creature. That's an easy task. We can simply let Yaya handle it. The dragonkin's speed of flight was remarkable, especially that of a wind-affine dragon. What would have taken a giant half a day to traverse was accomplished in under 2 hours. Falling Eagle Peak still towered majestically into the clouds. As Yaya flew past, the summit was mere inches from Lu Yu. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed from the other side. It was the black-headed eagle. Infuriated by the intrusion into its territory, the eagle prepared to unleash its wrath. However, just as it was about to cry out, its body froze, its bell-sized eyes filled with terror. A dragon. It had unwittingly provoked a member of the dragon lineage. Though this dragon was still juvenile, it already boasted a level of 80, far beyond what the eagle could contend with. The black-headed eagle turned to flee but abruptly sensed the air around it stagnate. The tumultuous currents assailed its wings, rendering it incapable of maintaining altitude. The eagle relied on air currents and wind for flight, whereas Yaya commanded the very winds themselves. In no time, a sharp crack echoed as one of the eagle's wings was bent at an impossible angle. Another crack followed, and the opposite wing met the same fate. Rendered incapable of flight, the black-headed eagle plummeted earthward. Lu Yu clicked his tongue. At such a height, even if it survived, it would surely be left with but a sliver of health. Yaya pursued the falling eagle closely. Lu Yu casually unleashed a basic attack, inflicting a meager amount of damage. Yet, that was sufficient. As long as the final blow came from Lu Yu, even if the black-headed eagle met its demise from the fall, it would still enter his summoning space. As the ground approached, Yaya abruptly halted midair. The black-headed eagle crashed to the ground, its health visibly dwindling to a mere thread. Ah, how delightful. You chased me across the map earlier. Now, I dare you to rise again. Lu Yu waved his staff and cast a rockfall spell, obliterating the last vestige of the eagle's health. The black-headed eagle transformed into a beam of light, soaring into Lu Yu's summoning space. With a flick of his wrist, Lu Yu summoned the black-headed eagle. Just as the eagle prepared to let out a triumphant cry, its eyes fell upon the massive pink dragon hovering above, prompting it to immediately suppress its voice. The cry was forcibly transformed into a cluck. Well, it's not shameful to behave timidly in front of the dragon tribe. Chapter 175. The familiarity of meeting the parents. Yiyu was initially astonished by the reappearance of the black-headed eagle and poised to attack again, but then sensed something amiss. The previous black-headed eagle had been in a hostile state, yet now it exuded friendliness. Sun Hanyu crouched down and whispered something in its ear. Instantly, Yiyu adopted a different demeanor, gazing at the black-headed eagle as if it were a subordinate. The hostility in its eyes was replaced by a hint of arrogance. As if to say, "Kid, stick with me from now on. I'll protect you. You'll have food, drink, and companionship." The black-headed eagle, in turn, bowed and nodded obsequiously, its sycophantic demeanor making Lu Yu cringe. "Am I not your master? After releasing you, you didn't even glance my way. Instead, you were busy grinning at that little dragon." Lu Yu promptly recalled it to the summoning space, not wanting to endure further embarrassment. Sun Hanyu asked, "Is there anything else?" This was a prime opportunity for revenge. Individuals who once intimidated him could now be confronted. Yet, after pondering for a considerable time, Lu Yu could not recall any other bosses that had pursued him. The bosses that once chased Lu Yu were now all within his summoning space. Even this black-headed eagle, which had previously been elusive due to its aerial prowess, was no longer a problem since he had subdued the lord of the underworld fortress. A straightforward confrontation in that confined space would suffice. Finally, Lu Yu regretfully shook his head. "None. All right, then I shall have Yiyu accelerate. Hold on tight. Don't fall off." Lu Yu quickly bent down, gripping the young dragoness body. Just as he prepared himself, Yiyu flapped its wings, suddenly increasing its speed. Even faster than before. The scenery on either side rushed past like a roller coaster, and in the blink of an eye, the trio was back in the high skies. Gazing downward gave Lu Yu a fleeting sensation akin to flying in an airplane, but without any turbulence. The direction remained eastward. "Instructor, how long will we be flying like this?" At full speed, barring any unforeseen circumstances, they could reach their destination in half a day. Such speed required a considerable amount of time. Lu Yu silently calculated the speed and distance in his mind. At the current velocity, flying eastward for half a day would bring them close to the Level 1 main city. Could it be that his instructor's home lies within the confines of the Level 1 main city? As of now, the human race's Level 1 main city had yet to be opened. Only players who reached level 80 and completed their second-class transfer could enter the Level 1 main city. Although Sun Hanyu had already undergone her second-class transfer, the Level 1 main city was still inaccessible to her. However, speaking of which, if the first level main city opens, the arrival of the Abyss cannot be far behind. Mentor, must my first-class transition be so troublesome? Lu Yu recalled that typically, the first transition involves tasks that are somewhat more challenging than formal employment. Yet it shouldn't require such elaborate measures. The notion of visiting Sun Hanyu's home is rather perplexing. What should I refer to her father as? Lord? That seems rather inappropriate, evoking an old-fashioned image. Father-in-law? That feels overly formal. Uncle? Why does it oddly evoke a sense of a son-in-law meeting his father-in-law? Lu Yu gently shook his head, casting aside these thoughts. I possess few skills suited to your needs. If you merely wish to complete the transition without regard for other matters, there is no need to make the journey back. No. Making the trip is quite beneficial. The pink, juvenile dragon soared swiftly through the sky, with Sun Hanyu seated in front, meditating. After admiring the scenery below for a while, Lu Yu gradually found it dull and slowly closed his eyes. Nearly a month has passed since the launch, and in every aspect, it is far better than in my previous life. The novice village, for instance, has seen the elimination of difficulties in leveling up and barriers to departure, allowing players to easily navigate the initial transition. Furthermore, the reduced difficulty at the game's onset has drawn more players into the Abyss. It is noteworthy that in my last life, many players who could not escape the novice village chose to quit the game. This was a significant factor contributing to the weakened state of humanity. With the lowered difficulty of the novice village, the various second-level main cities are thriving far more than in my previous existence. Lingfeng City, in particular, stands out. Under Lu Yu's leadership, several guilds have been established, and side businesses have flourished. In contrast, during my last life, at this point in time, not to mention guilds, even a level 40 silver boss would have been a formidable challenge. However, with such progress, Lu Yu has gradually uncovered more severe issues. The most emblematic is the infiltration of spies from other races. The Yuming tribe has already sent one individual into Lu Yu's summoning space, while another was repelled back to their realm. One remains unaccounted for, and it is uncertain what schemes they might be plotting in the shadows. This is merely the Yuming tribe. Could other races not be secretly infiltrating humanity as well? According to Wang Dachui, apart from humanity, nearly all races are aware of methods to traverse racial barriers in advance. The Yuming tribe is the most formidable, but they are not the only major race. The undead, goblins, dwarves, beastmen, and other significant races cannot be expected to remain docile in their own domains. They are undoubtedly infiltrating humanity. It is simply that Lu Yu has yet to uncover their actions. The good news is that, based on the response from the Huan Bureau, They have already recognized the infiltration of humanity. As long as the authorities are aware of this matter, it alleviates half of the concern. Liu took a deep breath, feeling a bit fatigued. Since the day before yesterday, when he began his side quest with Ru Meng Jiangnan, he had scarcely rested. Now, seizing the opportunity during the journey, he decided to log off and take a brief respite. With Sun Hanyu present, he felt reassured about safety. What concerned him, however, was whether Sun Hanyu might become a potential source of insecurity. Liu sent a message to Chenju, inquiring if he would like to log off for a bite to eat. Chenju promptly replied with an enthusiastic okay. Liu greeted Sun Hanyu, uncertain if his mentor would comprehend the notion of logging off. He simply stated that he needed to take a deep sleep and requested not to be disturbed. Sun Hanyu nodded slightly, her eyes conveying an understanding of his intentions. Liu felt somewhat perplexed but chose not to elaborate further, opting to exit the game. As the gaming pod opened, sunlight streamed through the window, warming Liu's face. On the other side, Chenju's gaming pod door also swung open. "Brother Yu," Chenju exclaimed upon seeing Liu approach. "Your attire looks so unreal. It feels more like reality in the game." Chapter 176. The Golden Devourer. Liu smiled gently, lifting Chenju and cradling him in his arms. He then carefully maneuvered to the wheelchair and set him down. The side effects of prolonged time spent in the gaming pod were becoming apparent. Previously, lifting Chenju had not felt so laborious, but the lack of physical activity had noticeably diminished Liu's muscle strength. There was no way around it. It was an inevitable consequence. Pushing the wheelchair out of the hospital room, Liu inquired, "What would you like to eat?" Without hesitation, Chenju replied, "Stir-fried pork with chili, braised eggplant, and a large bowl of rice." "Enough of that," Liu interjected without mercy. "You always choose those two dishes. Haven't you had enough? The mere scent is already overwhelming. Let's switch it up. I'll take you for barbecue. Your health has improved considerably, and a bit of wine should be fine now." Chenju's eyes lit up at the prospect. "Wine? That sounds great. I have indeed been craving it. But brother Yu, don't you usually refrain from drinking? It's been a month since you last had any. I'm just keeping you company." You're so good to me, brother Yu. I'm just worried you won't be able to drink in the future. After all, since the abyss descended, while alcohol remains available, finding this particular flavor may prove challenging." In the morning hours, few barbecue shops were open. After searching on his phone for a while, Liu finally found a place that was operating. The two of them hailed a taxi and sped off. The shop owner was surprised to see them. It was indeed unusual for anyone to come for skewers at such an early hour. However, a sale was a sale, and the money was to be made. Soon, a grill and dozens of skewers were brought to their table, looking freshly prepared and enticing. Liu personally prepared the skewers, uncorked the bottle, and poured the wine. Chenju, seated nearby, scrolled through his phone and remarked, "Brother Yu, shouldn't we consider purchasing a car? Why buy one? It would be a waste of money." Liu replied, "With a vehicle, we could travel anywhere with ease, and when there's nothing to do, we could take a leisurely drive. You're paralyzed. Buying a car wouldn't be convenient either way. If you wish to go for a drive, I can send someone to fetch you. Once I have the means, I'll get you a dragon to play with," he added. After riding on Sun Hanyu's mount, Liu suddenly felt that a true man ought to possess a dragon of his own. "A dragon? That sounds splendid." Chenju expressed interest. "I heard from Ru Meng that your mentor has a young dragon as a summoned beast, looking quite dashing." Liu nodded, affirming its impressive appearance. "By the way, I noticed in the chat that the guild Untroubled by the World is planning a boss raid." "Yes, that bald fellow merely has an idea at this stage. Once he scouts out which boss to target, he'll update you. He believes that with such a large guild like Lord of the Abyss, aside from you, no one has yet defeated a boss, which is unacceptable. If this continues, other guilds will perceive us as easy prey. He also wishes to use this opportunity to report on our guild's current strength and achievements. What are your thoughts, brother Yu?" "I have no objections, but I would advise Untroubled by the World to remain vigilant towards the movements of other guilds during the raid." Over the past fortnight, Liu had deemed Untroubled by the World reliable, especially with Chenju's presence alleviating his concerns. Liu handed a perfectly grilled kidney to Chenju. Chenju accepted it, swallowing hard, and hesitated, saying, "Brother Yu, you know I have difficulties moving. What if I overindulge? What's the matter? You're not incapacitated below the waist. Your hands still function, don't they? However, prolonged use of my hands isn't advisable. Shall I order you a doll instead?" Chenju tilted his head in contemplation. "That could work, but I would prefer a life-sized model, and the head should ideally resemble Fan." "All right, enough of that. Eat if you wish." The two enjoyed a barbecue from 9 a.m. until noon. Chenju drank 3 bottles of beer, while Liu accompanied him with one. When Chenju expressed a desire for another bottle, Liu swiftly intervened. 2 bottles are sufficient for the occasion. You've just recovered from a serious illness. Indulging excessively isn't wise, even if this body is destined for decline. Reluctantly, Chenju set the bottle down. Liu settled the bill, and the two returned to the hospital room to log back in. As the light flashed, Liu re-entered the abyss. He found himself once more upon the back of his mount, although its altitude had diminished, revealing a constantly shifting landscape below. "Have you awakened?" The voice of Sun Hanyu echoed from ahead. Just a few more minutes until we arrive. If you don't wake up now, I might have to call you." As she spoke, a vast canyon came into view. This chasm was not particularly wide, measuring merely the span of 2 young dragon wings, and its depths were unfathomable. With a fierce cry, Yaya dove straight down. Lu Yu hastily followed suit, lowering his center of gravity. After several minutes of descent, Lu Yu finally managed to glimpse the ground below. The canyon floor was strewn with jagged rocks, and a small stream meandered through it. No sunlight penetrated this place, however. Luminous stones were embedded in the cliff walls on either side, illuminating a narrow path. Yaya landed on the ground, and Sun Hanyu and Lu Yu disembarked. After tenderly stroking Yaya for a moment, Sun Hanyu recalled it. Let us move forward a bit more. We're almost at my family's entrance. With that, she stepped ahead, and Lu Yu followed closely, feeling an unexpected twinge of anxiety. Guided by the gleaming stones, the pair swiftly reached the end of the canyon, where the stream ceased to flow. Lu Yu gazed at the cliff face before him, marveling in awe. The wall was entirely dark, yet golden veins shimmered across its surface. Is this truly the home of the mentor? It appeared that passage ahead was barred. Could there be some incantation or secret phrase, perhaps something akin to open sesame? Sun Hanyu halted, gently caressing the cliff with her hand. To Lu Yu's astonishment, the rock face gradually opened a pair of eyes and parted its lips. A tongue emerged, delicately licking Sun Hanyu's garment. All right, Xian, it's been a while since I last visited you, Sun Hanyu replied playfully to the creature before her. Then turned to Lu Yu. Where are the 3 million gold coins you were supposed to prepare? Hurry and present them. Lu Yu quickly opened his backpack and poured out all the coins within. They formed a small mountain before the creature. The beast extended its tongue and effortlessly swept away all the coins, swallowing them whole. Lu Yu's eyes widened in shock. This is a golden swallower? Chapter 177. The Summoner's Family, Xian. Boss level. Race. Health. Attack. Defense. Skills. Description. Lu Yu stared at the long string of question marks, momentarily at a loss for where to direct his astonishment. The tier was marked with question marks, indicating that this golden swallower was at least at the celestial tier. In his previous life, when the celestial tier first emerged, it was also represented by question marks. Only after someone completed their second transition did this tier become officially recognized. Yet, what shocked Lu Yu the most was not just the tier of this golden swallower. Rather, it is the question mark behind the beast's race. The presence of racial attributes in the panel indicates that this golden devourer is not merely a projection, but a living creature akin to Lu Yu. Logically, the golden devourer should belong to the beast clan. However, if it indeed belongs to this clan, it should be displayed accordingly. Yet, the race of this golden devourer remains a question mark, suggesting only one possibility. It has severed ties with the beast clan and joined another race. Unfortunately, Lu Yu, being of insufficient rank, cannot discern to which race it has transitioned. The act of forsaking one's original race to embrace a new one is not particularly arduous. Within Lu Yu's possession lies a token dropped by the Lord of the Underworld, which allows an individual to change affiliations and become a member of the Underworld clan. Lu Yu had initially presumed that Sun Hanyu, referred to as the young lady by the 2 Earth-tier elders, hailed from a distinguished lineage. However, he never anticipated that his mentor would be of such remarkable standing. After all, this is a golden devourer of celestial rank. Even in the human realm prior to Lu Yu's demise, it would have been a formidable guardian, if only he could summon it to his space. Lu Yu hastily dismissed this notion. Not only did he lack the strength to subdue the golden devourer before him, but even if the creature were willing to sacrifice itself to follow Lu Yu, he would still need to consult Sun Hanyu's opinion. Lu Yu could sense that this golden devourer likely served as the guardian beast of his mentor's family. Sun Hanyu had always been attentive to Lu Yu, and he was not the kind of person to repay kindness with ingratitude. Sun Hanyu affectionately stroked the golden devourer's large tongue. Xian, are you full this time? The golden devourer wiggled its tongue in satisfaction. Subsequently, it retracted its tongue and closed its eyes. The cliff before Lu Yu reverted to its previous appearance. Was that it? After consuming 3 million gold coins, not even a word of thanks. Just as Lu Yu felt perplexed, the ground and surrounding cliffs began to tremble slightly. Suddenly, a fissure appeared in the cliff, revealing a passage wide enough for 2 to traverse. This passage was opened by the golden devourer, allowing Lu Yu and Sun Hanyu to enter. Lu Yu clicked his tongue, realizing that he had effectively paid for a gateway with his 3 million gold coins. Let us go in, Sun Hanyu said, leading the way into the passage. Lu Yu hurriedly followed closely behind. As they entered, the passage slowly closed, and the golden devourer once again merged with the cliff, restoring everything to its original state. Unable to contain himself, Lu Yu inquired, Mentor, what was that golden devourer just now? Sun Hanyu turned back, somewhat surprised to gaze at Lu Yu. You actually recognize a golden devourer? I really need to reevaluate my perception of you. What could he say? After all, he had lived an extra life, before the arrival of the rare and extraordinary beasts, and even prior to the dissolution of the racial barriers, few were acquainted with their existence. However, following the collapse of these barriers, a relentless struggle for living space ensued among the various races, leading to frequent interventions by powerful figures. Consequently, these mystical creatures gradually became known to humankind. The golden devourer, a beast that thrives by consuming metals, particularly favors pure gold. Upon witnessing the creature devouring gold coins, Lu Yu immediately recognized it as a golden devourer. My father mentioned that this creature, Qian Qian, was said to be the companion of my great-great-great-grandfather. After my great-great-great-grandfather passed away, it began to protect my great-great-grandfather. When my great-great-grandfather also departed, it continued to safeguard our lineage. It had been a part of my family since time immemorial, becoming our guardian spirit and one of our most esteemed ancestors. Lu Yu felt as though he had stumbled upon something extraordinary. This implied that within his mentor's family, there existed not just one, but multiple celestial tier bosses akin to the Golden Devourer. He had initially thought that becoming a disciple of Sun Hanyu was akin to clutching a robust lifeline, but he now realized he had grasped a colossal pillar of strength. His family, a lineage of summoners, had been so since the time of his great-great-great-grandfather. Allow me to introduce you to my elders first, and then we shall proceed with your first transition task, he remarked. Would he finally meet the family? Lu Yu felt his heartbeat quickening. He had yet to mentally prepare for this. Was the progression too swift? Very well, he agreed wholeheartedly. As they traversed a dimly lit, narrow passage, they emerged into a radiant expanse. The space, though modest, was bathed in sunlight, adorned with meadows, ponds, woodlands, and rocky terrains. Scattered across the meadow, pond, woodland, and rocky ground were several pink beasts frolicking playfully, creating an impression of a secluded paradise. At the periphery of this idyllic setting stood a few thatched cottages, behind which lay a concealed cavern, though it was too distant for Lu Yu to discern its contents. The playful beasts, upon spotting Sun Hanyu, rushed towards her, surrounding her with exuberant leaps, as if they were greeting a long-lost master. Sun Hanyu tenderly caressed their heads in a display of affection. Lu Yu observed these creatures, noting that none matched the extraordinary nature of the Golden Devourer. Most were relatively ordinary beasts, although a couple appeared to be exceptional juveniles. Were these perhaps the reserved summons of Sun Hanyu? He refrained from asking further questions. After exchanging greetings with the beasts, Sun Hanyu led Lu Yu directly to the thatched cottages, her demeanor shifting to one of solemnity and gravity. Lu Yu understood that they had arrived at the most crucial juncture, meeting the family. Upon reaching the entrance of the cottages, Sun Hanyu paused, taking a deep breath. Lu Yu took a deep breath and said, "Dad, Mom, I have returned to see you." As she spoke, she pushed open the door. Dust cascaded down as the door creaked open. Once the dust settled, Sun Hanyu stepped inside, with Lu Yu following closely behind, entering the thatched cottage. The interior was barren aside from simple decorations. It was devoid of any presence. On the wall directly facing the entrance hung two portraits. Sun Hanyu unfolded the images, revealing a man and a woman who bore a striking resemblance to her. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say that Sun Hanyu resembled them. Chapter 178. The Summoner's Trial. Sun Hanyu approached the portraits and gently embraced each one. She then pointed at Lu Yu and said, "Mom and Dad, this is my new disciple, the one that old Lecher introduced to me. His profession is what you have always referred to as the glory of our ancestors, the Abyss Summoner. Quite unexpected, I assent to it. Since the time of our great-great-grandfather, our family has been in search of this profession, and now it has become my disciple. As I mentioned before, our family will not vanish. I will repay all those foreign tribes that sought our extinction, one by one." Lu Yu stood silently in the background, his mind racing with countless rehearsals of what he would say upon meeting Sun Hanyu's father and mother. He even planned how he would greet and play with any pets in the household. However, upon entering and witnessing the scene before him, all his thoughts became utterly disordered. Sun Hanyu turned to Lu Yu and said, "Qingjiu, this is my parents. You should say a few words to them as well." Lu Yu stepped forward a couple of paces, but the absence of a table or incense made the atmosphere feel incongruous for a typical tribute. Unsure of how to proceed, he refrained from approaching the portraits as Sun Hanyu had done. Instead, he bowed respectfully to each image. Just as he was about to speak, he hesitated, mentally calculating the familial hierarchy. As Sun Hanyu was his mentor, her parents would logically be his grandmaster and grandmistress. Yet, the two figures in the portraits appeared youthful, even younger than his own deceased parents. Gathering his courage, Lu Yu said, "Grandmaster, grandmistress." Sun Hanyu chuckled softly. "You might as well call them uncle and aunt." Lu Yu felt a wave of relief wash over him, yet he pondered what he should say next. "I will take good care of Hanyu. Please rest assured." He shook his head, recalling Sun Hanyu's earlier comments about their family seemingly having been suppressed and extinguished by foreign tribes. Although he was unaware of the specifics, he felt compelled to address the matter concerning those foreign entities. "Uncle, aunt, the foreign tribes have always regarded our human race as their greatest enemy. The enmity between the human race and these alien tribes is profound and irreconcilable. I shall personally sweep away these foreign beings and avenge you." As soon as Lu Yu's words fell, a voice resonated from the system. System notification. You have accepted the Summoner family task. Revenge. Fight for humanity. Task requirements. Eliminate 10,000 beings from each of the 7 tribes, including the Nether tribe, Goblin tribe, Undead tribe, and Orc tribe, non-projection. With at least 1 second transition and 10 first transition individuals from each tribe. Additionally, 1 third transition member from the Nether tribe must be slain. Task deadline, none. Task reward, gold, golden beast. Ah, what is this? Lu Yu stared at the task notification, momentarily taken aback. He had merely uttered 2 sentences, yet inexplicably found himself assigned a task. Moreover, it appeared to be quite formidable. This is a family task left by my parents before their demise. Anyone with a deep-seated hatred for the foreign tribes will receive this task, Sun Hanyu explained, clearly aware of Lu Yu's acceptance of the mission. I thought you would reassure my parents that you would take good care of me and elevate the status of summoners. I never anticipated that you harbored such profound animosity toward the foreign tribes. Hatred? It is a blood-soaked vendetta. Mentor, are the tribes mentioned in the task the same ones that once struck against your family? Sun Hanyu sighed softly. I am uncertain. I was too young at the time. Whisked away in the dead of night. However, since my parents mentioned those tribes, it is likely they are indeed involved. Lu Yu ceased his inquiries. This young lady might not possess much clarity on many matters. Well, let us set this aside for now. The task left by my parents is one that even I cannot fulfill at present. Lu Yu nodded, given Sun Hanyu's current strength. As long as she is not overwhelmed by a multitude of foreign beings, she should manage. The only challenge lies in slaying a 3rd transition member of the Nether tribe. At level 120, such a being would have been among the most formidable prior to Lu Yu's demise in his past life. After meeting my parents, I will take you to the 1st transition, Sun Hanyu stated, stepping out of the thatched cottage. Lu Yu followed her outside and turned back to close the door. Sun Hanyu led Lu Yu to the rear of the cottage, revealing what indeed resembled a cave. Suddenly, Lu Yu sensed something was amiss. After traversing the dim passage, he found himself still in the valley's depths. Logically, this should also be a sunless, shadowy valley, yet it was remarkably bright. Why is it so sunny? Lu Yu could not help but glance upward. There, suspended in midair, was a fiery red sun, dazzling and blinding. What is this? The small crow is a descendant of a summoned beast left by my great-great-great-grandfather. It possesses a foul temper and prefers to remain motionless in that spot. However, it is fortunate that it is present, allowing this place to bask in the same sunshine as the outside world. Gulp. Lu Yu could not help but swallow. Your esteemed great-great-grandfather. Who might he be, little Wu? If I am not mistaken, he must be a descendant of the 3-legged golden crow, correct? Huh. With such a foul temper? Only you, my dear young lady, would dare to speak so boldly. Lu Yu refrained from gazing upward any longer, fearing that if that individual were displeased, he might descend and offer him an overly enthusiastic embrace. He followed Sun Hanyu to the mouth of the cave. Sun Hanyu halted. Your first task is to enter this cave and return safely. Lu Yu peered into the cave, engulfed in darkness, devoid of light. The longer he stared, the more a sense of dizziness overcame him. System notification. You have obtained the qualification for the Summoner family's 1st transition trial. Please select the trial level. Employment trial. 1st transition trial. 2nd transition trial. Upon completing the corresponding trials, you may proceed with the respective job transition. Lu Yu cast a puzzled glance at Sun Hanyu. This trial task did not seem to be issued by his mentor. This is our family's trial ground, but now only these 3 remain. The 3rd and 4th transitions have long since vanished. If you manage to pass the trial, you shall receive substantial transition rewards. My Yaya and little darling obtained theirs during the 1st and 2nd transitions within. Lu Yu swallowed hard. Such an important trial ground. And you permit me to enter so easily? Sun Hanyu seemed to sense Lu Yu's doubts. My intuition tells me you are not an ordinary player. And the fact that you were able to take on my parents' task implies their approval of you. Most importantly, you are my disciple. Chapter 179. The elder hearing Sun Hanyu's words, Lu Yu felt a flicker of emotion. At this moment, Sun Hanyu truly evoked a sense of deep teacher-student affection within him. In his previous life, his mentor was merely an ordinary vocational instructor in the 2nd-tier main city. Each time he underwent a job transition, it was simply a matter of Lu Yu paying a fee to learn generic skills, occasionally receiving a couple of commonplace tasks. Beyond that, there was nothing more. However, since becoming Sun Hanyu's disciple, Lu Yu has genuinely felt the warmth of a mentor's care. Not only did he acquire the most practical skills, but the rewards were also remarkably generous. From the heart's connection to the radiant gold ring, and later the golden cloak from Ru Meng Jiangnan. Even Lu Yu's most formidable combat power, the Lord of the Underworld Fortress, was a gift from Sun Hanyu. Even the 3 million gold coins required for this endeavor were presumed by Lu Yu to be necessary for anyone outside the Sun family wishing to enter this small world through the golden swallowing beast. And surely they would need to pay in gold. The 3 million was originally to be paid by Lu Yu himself. However, in the end, it was Sun Hanyu who assisted with 70,000. Though it may often appear that one's mentor is taking advantage, in truth, it is more often oneself who benefits from the mentor's guidance. As for that Goblin Legion, Sun Hanyu could have effortlessly quelled it by summoning giants and Yaya. Yet she still entrusted the resolution to Lu Yu. This was due to her realization within the depths of the Nether Cave that Lu Yu's summoned beasts were becoming insufficient. Presently, she had even brought forth the family's ancestral summoner trial for him to utilize. Reflecting on this, Lu Yu felt his eyes becoming moist. Upon observing his demeanor, Sun Hanyu expressed her disdain. Enough of that, you big man. Why are you crying? Hurry up and take the trial to see what you can achieve. I must warn you, do not be deceived by your status as an abyss summoner. You may not necessarily pass this trial. Is it possible that I might fail the trial? Lu Yu, momentarily perplexed, gazed at Sun Hanyu. Minter, you are aware of my current strength. Even if you stripped yourself of all your belongings, you might not be my match. Humph, you'll find out once you enter, Sun Hanyu replied with a knowing expression. Lu Yu felt an increasing curiosity, but as she remained silent, he chose not to press further. Minter, I shall enter now. Go on, go on. Remember to perform well once inside. Your rewards will be determined by your performance, she instructed. Lu Yu smacked his lips. Her words sounded somewhat odd. He opted for the first-tier trial and took a step forward, his entire being engulfed in an abyss of darkness. System prompt. You have entered the exclusive trial for the Summoner family. The current trial is a first-tier trial. System prompt. This trial is divided into 3 parts. Your profession has been detected as an Abyss Summoner. The trial will undergo alterations. Please hold on. While Lu Yu was intently listening to the trial details, he was taken aback when the system prompt abruptly ceased. Does the Abyss Summoner receive special treatment? However, Sun Hanyu had mentioned earlier that her great-great-great-grandfather was also an Abyss Summoner. Before he could ponder further, a portly elder clad in a flowing white robe appeared before him. After all these years, finally, we have another Abyss Summoner. Lu Yu regarded the unfamiliar elder before him, feeling a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you? Let me see. You must be the one Sun Hanyu introduced. I am her great-great-great-grandfather. That should make things clearer for you. Lu Yu nodded, confirming his earlier speculation. This elderly figure, who appeared out of nowhere and bore some resemblance to Sun Hanyu, was likely that Abyss Summoner. Are you here to complete the first-tier trial? Indeed. Sun Hanyu is my mentor. Alas, my great-granddaughter is indeed fortunate to have the prospect of marrying you. Isentishi? What did you just say? My great-granddaughter is your mentor? Lu Yu nodded earnestly. The elder shook his head fervently, muttering softly, this one do. The master-disciple relationship lacks solidity. He turned his gaze back to Lu Yu, inquiring, young man, what do you think of my great-granddaughter? She treats me exceptionally well. I mean, have you ever contemplated a deeper development of your relationship with her? Upon hearing this, Lu Yu suddenly felt a wave of dizziness wash over him, and his thoughts began to dull. A deeper development? Lu Yu looked bewildered, wondering if the further development he spoke of aligned with his own thoughts. No. I believe a mentor remains a mentor. She regards me as her genuine disciple, fiercely protective of me. I hold her in the highest esteem as my mentor. Whenever I face difficulties, she is the first to extend her hand, and should she encounter peril, I would rush to her aid without hesitation. As Lu Yu uttered these words, which reflected his true feelings, he felt a clarity return to his mind, as if the previous moment had merely been a fleeting dream. The elder still stood before him, though his demeanor had shifted from being petty and lecherous to one of solemnity with a hint of perplexity. Qingjiu, I am quite satisfied with your response. You have passed the first trial. However, I am left with a question that lingers in my mind. Lu Yu finally regained his composure, realizing that his earlier state had likely been induced by some illusionary skill, compelling him to speak the truth. Yet, he felt no anger and replied, what is your question? I perceive that you have glimpsed my great-granddaughter's form, yet your earlier words should not have been false. This presents a contradiction. At this, Lu Yu found himself at a loss for words. You should inquire this matter with your precious great-granddaughter, he thought. He wished to explain but hesitated, unsure how to articulate it. How could he say that his mentor had inadvertently emerged from her slumber in the nude? That seemed rather inappropriate. Observing Lu Yu's inner turmoil, the elder appeared somewhat relieved. Never mind. Judging by your expression, it was likely an accidental occurrence. Henceforth, just be cautious. What do you mean by being cautious? It is your great-granddaughter who should exercise caution. You too are an Abyss Summoner. The trials here hold little significance for you. However, since you have ventured in, I shan't let your journey be in vain. Suddenly, Lu Yu felt invigorated. This implied he might receive some benefit, didn't it? Chapter 180. Sun Tianhua, we are both Abyss Summoners, so we should have much in common. Lu Yu remained silent, awaiting the elder to continue. My name is Sun Tianhua. My previous ID was Tianchuan Shangren. Qingjiu should be your ID, correct? What is your name in reality? With these 2 sentences, Sun Tianhua left Lu Yu utterly astounded. This is the first instance where an NPC has introduced the concepts of ID and reality to me in such a casual manner, as if it were of little consequence. Please refrain from looking at me with such astonishment. My great-great-granddaughter has already informed me. You must possess a profound understanding of the abyss. Lu Yu inhaled deeply, striving to regain his composure. For someone who has experienced reincarnation, what is there that one cannot accept? In reality, I am known as Du Qian. Du Qian. Sun Tianhua stroked his beard, finding the name quite pleasing. Henceforth, I shall refer to you as Xiao Qian. I would prefer you to call me Qingjiu. Lu Yu promptly declined. The reason he refrained from disclosing his name was due to his lack of trust in this individual who referred to himself as Sun Hanyu, a figure he found somewhat dubious. Who knows what might happen if his true name were to be revealed to another race? Having already endured one car accident, he had no desire to be inexplicably eliminated before even entering the abyss. Unexpectedly, you seem to enjoy being addressed by your ID, Qingjiu. Does that name hold any special significance? After a moment's reflection, Lu Yu inquired, are you familiar with Li Bai? Sun Tianhua furrowed his brow and shook his head. I do not know him. Is he a figure from your reality? He is an eminent poet who once penned the lines, a golden goblet of fine wine worth 10,000. A jade plate of delicacies valued at 10,000 coins. This person sounds like a wealthy individual. Lu Yu nodded. Indeed, Li Bai was from a well-to-do background, so calling him a rich man was not inaccurate. However, it seemed that discussing historical figures was not pertinent at the moment. Lu Yu hastily redirected the conversation. It appears we are not from the same era? Sun Tianhua smiled faintly. One could say we are not from the same place. Not from the same place. Well, let us defer such discussions until you have acquired more strength. For now, I shall facilitate your first advancement. Is it possible to advance already? Wasn't there supposed to be some trial to undergo? Huh, what relevance does the trial here hold for us abyssal summoners? The original trials consisted of a fundamental knowledge assessment for summoners, followed by a selection of a summoned beast for sealing. Are you capable of sealing? The second trial tested the bond between you and the summoned beast. Does its affection for you require further examination? The third trial involved utilizing the sealed summoned beast from the first trial to battle my summoned beast. Do you believe I would risk allowing my summoned beast to engage with yours? Upon hearing Sun Tianhua's description, Lu Yu suddenly felt that adhering to the prior trials might not be entirely unfeasible. At the very least, he could potentially acquire 1 or 2 formidable summoned beasts at no cost. Sun Tianhua, perceiving Lu Yu's thoughts, let out a cold snort. These are all prepared for my descendants. If you were merely an ordinary summoner, gifting you 1 or 2 would be inconsequential. However, you are an abyssal summoner. Should you desire a particular summoned beast, you must venture forth and claim it. Lu Yu awkwardly rubbed his nose, feeling somewhat embarrassed. The old man undoubtedly possesses some extraordinary skill, capable of discerning one's innermost thoughts. Come here quickly. I'll grant you your first transformation, and then you must leave promptly. Lu Yu stepped forward, and suddenly, a white staff materialized in the elder's hand. With a flourish of the staff, glimmers of light cascaded down from above Lu Yu. That's enough, Sun Tianhua declared as he retracted the staff. Is that it? Lu Yu inquired, gazing at Sun Tianhua. The latter responded curtly, what? Do you expect me to recite some incantation as well? It seems you lack a profound understanding of your vocation. Other professions require incantations to survive in the abyss. But we need not do so, for the abyss is inherently ours. Disregarding Lu Yu's astonished expression, Sun Tianhua continued impatiently. Now, let us examine the changes in your profession after the transformation, and then we shall exit together. Together? Lu Yu echoed, perplexed. Indeed, together. I am your reward for completing the passage. Lu Yu responded incredulously. So, your implication that I wouldn't make this journey for naught means I must escort you out? You are my reward? Surely, you aren't merely seeking a diversion? At that moment, Lu Yu found himself at a loss for words. Since entering the trial, he had been led by Sun Tianhua, and every conversation and experience had felt inexplicably surreal. Even the recent, bewildering completion of his transformation followed suit. From Sun Tianhua's words, it seemed he had gleaned some understanding, yet he also felt utterly in the dark. This was particularly unsettling for Lu Yu, who had always maintained a firm grasp on various matters. Exceedingly disconcerting. However, Sun Tianhua, the previous abyss summoner, must harbor countless secrets. The man himself was a colossal enigma, reluctant to divulge more, leaving Lu Yu powerless to pry. At present, Lu Yu sought not to unravel every mystery, but rather to seize what he could manage. He opened his profession panel. Profession, Abyss Summoner. First transformation, Professional Talent 1. You can summon any slain non-player unit to fight for you, with no numerical limitations. Once a summoned unit perishes, it cannot be summoned again. Professional Talent 2. The experience gained by your summoned creatures can be temporarily stored and then distributed by you at will. Stored experience is exclusively for your summoned creatures and cannot be allocated to other players or yourself. Professional Talent 3. If your summoned creature is a projection, you can trace the location of its original form through that projection. Summoning Space. 21565 alien summoning slots. 5 after the first transformation, the first talent remained unchanged. Yet the second talent had undergone a transformation and a third talent had emerged. The alteration in the second talent filled Lu Yu with unexpected joy, as the waste of experience had always been a source of frustration for him. Due to the frequent necessity for Lu Yu to engage in group battles, he often finds that the majority of his experience fails to benefit his boss-level summoned beasts. Although ordinary summoned beasts consume a considerable amount of experience, their sheer numbers render them ineffectual in elevating levels. However, with the recent change in talents allowing for the arbitrary allocation of experience, Lu Yu can now concentrate all his experience on nurturing the few most crucial summoned beasts. As for the newly emerged third talent, it initially appeared somewhat superfluous, leading Lu Yu to believe it less useful than the second talent. Yet, upon witnessing the transformation of the alien summoning slots, his demeanor shifted dramatically. The alien summoning slots had transformed into an infinite capacity, meaning he could now capture any number of aliens without the burden of numerical limitations. This was, without a doubt, tailor-made for his upcoming ventures into the realm of the aliens. Chapter 181. Kill me. Have you finished reading, young wine? What do you think of the career talent post-transformation? Sun Tianhua's voice shattered Lu Yu's exhilaration. Feels rather average. Lu Yu feigned nonchalance. Is that so? Do you grasp the significance of being able to capture the true forms of aliens? Previously, those you captured were merely abyssal projections, yet post-transformation, you can even capture the true forms of aliens. Although you may currently only capture 5, this number will increase as your level rises. In my prime, all of my 20 top experts were aliens. Listening to Sun Tianhua's words, Lu Yu's brow gradually furrowed. Capture the true form? He already possessed 5 such slots even before officially taking on a position. Could it be that, among abyssal summoners, there exists such a disparity in talents? Lu Yu cautiously inquired, what is your second talent after your job change? Second talent? We possess this one talent which suffices to look down upon all other professions. What need have we for a second? Sun Tianhua scoffed. Lu Yu seemed to confirm his suspicions. From Sun Tianhua's tone, it was evident that he had only ever possessed a single career talent. Indeed, as he stated, even with just the first talent, it was sufficient to surpass all other professions. However, Lu Yu was acutely aware that he not only had a second and third talent, but these talents also grew stronger as he did. There existed a significant gap between abyssal summoners. Younger Wine, what was the meaning behind your earlier inquiry? Do you possess a second talent? Lu Yu initially intended to deny it, but reconsidered, realizing that the fact of his summoned beast level enhancement could not be concealed. He decided to speak plainly. I do indeed have a second talent. Sun Tianhua's eyes widened in disbelief. From the moment he took on his role until his eventual demise, he had only ever had one talent to rely on. He too wished to acquire a second, third, fourth, or even fifth talent like other professions. However, after each job change, aside from the enhancement of growth attributes, there was no alteration in talent. Now, upon hearing that Lu Yu had actually acquired a second talent, how could he not be astonished? Instantly, he lost the lofty demeanor he had just displayed. Grasping Lu Yu's arm impatiently, he inquired, what is your second talent? Lu Yu extracted the term for his second talent and presented it to Sun Tianhua. Experience acquisition? Summoned beasts can now level up. Sun Tianhua's eyes widened gradually. Did this not imply that one could artificially create high-quality summoned beasts, or even conjure a divine beast? No, rather, a multitude of divine beasts. Lu Yu remained noncommittal. Theoretically, as long as one's level was sufficiently high, even a turtle from the Eternal River could evolve into one of the 9 suns that bear the stone tablet. Alas, Sun Tianhua's mood suddenly shifted, and he sighed. If only I possessed that talent, things would have been different. Lu Yu immediately focused, eager to hear Sun Tianhua continue. However, upon reaching this point, it seemed Sun Tianhua realized something and abruptly fell silent. All right, your first transition is complete. It is time for you to exit. Lu Yu surveyed his surroundings. It was still enveloped in darkness, with no visible exit. No need to search. I am the exit. Lu Yu looked on in confusion. Killing you to reveal the exit. Doesn't that seem rather inappropriate? Setting aside the fact that Sun Tianhua was considered his senior, there was also the issue of the mentor, Sun Hanyu, which would be difficult to explain. Once outside, if Sun Hanyu were to ask, how did you clear the trial? What would he say? I killed your ancestor. If you wish to kill me, proceed. My original self has long since perished. What remains is merely a projection. Moreover, if you do not slay me, how can I accompany you outside? So what you meant by leaving together is to transform you into my summoned beast? Cough, cough, somewhat akin to that. Sun Tianhua felt a bit awkward. When his original self had placed him here, it had spared him the fate of dying alongside it. Yet, over the years, he had grown weary of loneliness. In the prime of the Sun family, many young individuals would enter to undergo trials. He would take the opportunity to tease those children or even manifest himself, allowing those who came to believe they had encountered some fortuitous event, which brought him some amusement. However, in recent decades, hardly anyone had ventured in for trials. An indescribable loneliness filled Sun Tianhua's heart, leading him to believe his family had ceased to exist. Only Sun Hanyu had entered 2 or 3 times, becoming his pillar of support. Yet, if he continued to linger here, Sun Tianhua felt he might lose his sanity. Now that a means to escape had finally presented itself, even if it meant becoming Lu Yu's summoned beast, he was willing to accept. If I take you out, will the trials here continue to exist? As long as another abyss summoner does not appear, there is no issue. The trials here resemble a predetermined code. Merely encountering a summoner of our kind leads to encountering a bug. Thus, after pondering for a moment, Lu Yu concluded that escorting this elder away would yield more benefits than detriments. Although their professions diverged, there were still aspects worthy of emulation. Despite possessing the experiences of a previous life, Lu Yu remained largely ignorant of the highest echelons and locales within the abyss. However, Sun Tianhua, as a formidable figure of his era, undoubtedly possessed a wealth of knowledge regarding the elite forces of alien races. Moreover, the method of taking him out involved transforming him into his own summoned beast, alleviating any concerns regarding loyalty. The only potential complication lay in explaining the situation to Sun Hanyu. How would they face each other if his mentor's great-great-great-grandfather became his subordinate? Would he address him as mentor while Sun Tianhua referred to him as ancestor? It seemed more prudent to ensure that Sun Tianhua remained undisclosed in front of Sun Hanyu. Of course, The crux of the matter was that by subjugating Sun Tianhua, Lu Yu would effectively acquire a top-tier force from the abyss. Finally resolute, Lu Yu instructed, "Please prepare yourself. I shall escort you on your journey." As he spoke, he initiated the rockfall technique, causing massive boulders to descend upon Sun Tianhua. 3, 2, 4. A series of numbers emerged, creating an awkward atmosphere. "Brave lad, you think you can defeat me on your own after just one turn? Where are your summoned beasts? Hurry and summon them." Lu Yu beckoned, releasing all his ranged summoned beasts, unleashing a rain of arrows. Sun Tianhua, however, did not evade, quietly awaiting his demise. Chapter 182, Summoned Beast. Abyss Summoner, Pseudo, countless arrows rained down upon him, gradually depleting his health. "Now this is more like it. Though slow, at least it offers a glimmer of hope," Sun Tianhua remarked, closing his eyes as if savoring the experience. Yet, Lu Yu harbored some doubts. Sun Tianhua was at least a level 120 character, possibly even a level 151. Logically, with the damage output from himself and his summoned beasts, they should not penetrate his defenses. Yet, as he observed the damage numbers appearing, albeit small, it was indeed breaking through. "Excuse me, Senior, what is your current level?" "Level 80, second transition." "What of it?" "Wait, only level 80 and second transition?" Lu Yu exclaimed in astonishment. "Shouldn't you have already reached the third or even fourth transition?" "The fourth transition is merely a projection. My true self is this second transition form," Sun Tianhua replied with a smirk. "What of being in the second transition? Even so, among the current human race, I should still be considered a master." "That is a valid point," Lu Yu conceded. Lu Yu fell silent, recalling that Sun Hanyu had mentioned the trials of the third and fourth transitions were lost. "What's the matter, since you're only at level 80? Before Sun Tianhua could finish his question, he suddenly felt a lightness in his body and vanished from sight. The Lord of the Underworld was adept at the third transition. The fourth transition might prove challenging. However, a mere level 80 second transition should pose no issue. A minute and a half later, Sun Tianhua returned, barely clinging to life. Lu Yu exclaimed, "I never expected you to have tamed even the second transition underworld bard. Yet, your bard seems rather weak. Lacking the caliber of those I have encountered before. The decline of the Mou family makes reaching level 80 in the second transition a commendable feat. As for skills and other aspects, they surely fall short compared to other families. The Lord of the Underworld, being a projection of Mou, naturally inherits Mou's attributes. A slight deficiency is understandable. But is this truly the time for such considerations? The focus now should be on the fact that you, as a mage, stood still and withstood an entire onslaught from an underworld bard. It's worth noting that even Sun Hanyu, clad in a full set of earth-tier gear, could barely maintain a higher health pool than you after enduring that assault. Don't look at me so strangely. I'm fully invested in both defenses, and my passive skills lean towards protection. I leave the attacking to my summoned beasts." "Huh, isn't that the case for you?" Lu Yu shook his head. "Then how have you allocated your points?" "I've allocated all my points to magical strength." "All magical strength? With a summoned beast at your disposal? Shouldn't your safety be your primary concern?" "When I was in the novice village, I discovered that the higher my magical strength, the greater the hidden attributes I could provide to my summoned beasts." In truth, Lu Yu's initial reaction when allocating his points was akin to Sun Tianhua's. However, upon noticing the changes in his summoned beasts with the increase in magical strength, he decisively invested fully in magical strength. He believed that he could entrust his safety to his summoned beasts, assured that betrayal was not a worry. "I see," Sun Tianhua murmured. Having served as an abyss summoner for so long, he had never discerned the connection between his magical strength and that of his summoned beasts. Yet this junior had recognized it even before officially taking on the role, prompting Sun Tianhua to gradually temper his arrogance. The cooldown for the Lord of the Underworld skills had ended, and once again, the two disappeared from sight. This time, in less than a minute, the Lord of the Underworld returned to Lu Yu's side. Simultaneously, a system notification appeared. "System notification, you have slain the human abyss summoner, Pseudo. Would you like to incorporate them into your summoning space?" Previously, after vanquishing the projection, one would directly enter the summoning space without such an option. System prompt. A capture request has been sent to the abyss summoner, Pseudo, awaiting the other party's choice. Is their consent still necessary? Is it because Sun Tianhua is a projection of the human race? System prompt. The abyss summoner, Pseudo, has consented to enter your summoning space. A beam of white light soared toward Lu Yu as Sun Tianhua entered the summoning space. Lu Yu immediately summoned him forth. Sun Tianhua instinctively inclined to kneel in reverence. Yet he appeared to resist this action, his body frozen mid-air. Lu Yu gently assisted him upright. Although he was now Lu Yu's summoned beast, Lu Yu felt unworthy of such deference. "Senior, let us maintain our previous rapport. You may still call me Qingjiu, and I shall address you as senior." Sun Tianhua wiped the sweat from his brow. "Very well, Master Qingjiu." He had previously understood that summoned beasts could not defy their summoner's will. Yet experiencing it firsthand illuminated the stark difference in their hierarchical relationship. Had Lu Yu not caught him in time, he would have knelt. "Senior, why does your profession bear the prefix Pseudo?" Sun Tianhua took a deep breath, finally feeling his composure restored, and replied, Any type of abyss profession can only exist singularly. Although I am still referred to as an abyss summoner, I have lost that innate talent, rendering me no different from an ordinary summoner, hence the pseudo-designation. So, that is the case. Abyss professions are indeed notoriously domineering. What of your previous summoned beasts? My true form had already dispersed most of my summoned beasts before my demise. What I possess now is merely a summoning position. Currently, only 2 summoned beasts remain in this position. As Sun Tianhua spoke, he gestured with one hand, summoning forth 2 creatures, a completely white fox and a magnificent large white flower. So, it seems that Sun Hanyu only collects summoned beasts of a single color. This is something I learned from you. I cannot release them, as they harbor great animosity toward the human race. Allowing their departure would spell disaster for humanity. Lu Yu examined the levels of the 2 summoned beasts. Both the fox and the flower were only level 60. Lu Yu clicked his tongue in disappointment. If only they had reached the second transition at level 80. However, acquiring 2 level 60 combatants, along with Sun Tianhua, was still a considerable gain. The exit from the trial had now appeared. Senior, let us depart, though it may be a slight inconvenience for you to return to the summoning space. Sun Tianhua immediately replied, not at all, not at all. However, I noticed several Yidru in your summoning space earlier. Chapter 183, The Egg. Indeed. However, Sun Hanyu informed me that the racial barrier has remained closed since its closure. After its shutdown, Lu Yu learned of an unexpected revelation. He has begun to piece together some information. Long ago, the abyss was inhabited by the human race, as inferred from Sun Tianhua's initial statements. Moreover, during that time, the racial barrier had been opened, and there had not been a barrier prior to that. Yet, at some unknown moment, the racial barrier emerged for reasons unknown, isolating the various races and preventing their encounters. It was at this juncture that the abyss began to absorb new races, including once again, the human race. Young lad, what are you pondering? Sun Tianhua finally reclaimed his rightful position. The 4 words young lad instinctively startled him, yet he mustered the courage to utter them. Lu Yu's train of thought was interrupted by Sun Tianhua, prompting him to glance at him involuntarily. Sun Tianhua felt a shiver run down his spine, an overwhelming sense of pressure weighing upon him. Senior, hearing you refer to me in such a manner makes me feel much better. When we meet again, there is no need for formality. As I mentioned earlier, you remain my senior. Upon hearing Lu Yu's words, Sun Tianhua finally relaxed. Lu Yu summoned 5 individuals from different races, Widow Wang, Li Er, Xueli, Wang Dachui, and Yu Mi, introducing them sequentially to Sun Tianhua. They had all secretly crossed the racial barrier to enter the human realm. Secretly crossing the racial barrier? It seems that this barrier is not as impenetrable as one might think. Can we glean some information about the current state of the other races from them? Lu Yu shook his head. I have yet to understand, but after I subdued them, it appears that some crucial memories in their minds were erased. I see. No matter. I shall give it a try shortly, Sun Tianhua expressed with confidence. Connecting this to earlier, it was easy for Lu Yu to perceive his thoughts. He began to doubt whether this elder possessed some sort of mind-reading ability. That would be troublesome, senior, for the sake of the human race. This is what I must do. Is there anything else that can be done here? Lu Yu surveyed his surroundings. Having entered this place so rarely, he hoped to gain further benefits. Earlier, Sun Tianhua mentioned that a standard trial could grant a summoning beast. Since hearing that Sun Hanyu's giant and dragon were acquired here, Lu Yu felt a twinge of excitement. How magnificent it would be to ride a dragon out of here. The trial has concluded. Qingjiu, what else do you wish to pursue? Sun Tianhua ultimately dropped the term lad, addressing Lu Yu simply as Qingjiu. Senior, you mentioned that you would grant a summoning beast. I wonder if there might still be one available, perhaps even a dragon? Cough, cough, cough. I am the summoning beast being given to you, what? Am I not on par with a dragon? It cannot be compared much. After all, I cannot ride you. Oh, very well, let us go out then. Lu Yu felt a tinge of disappointment, yet since there were no further benefits to be gained, there was no reason to linger here. With that, he made his way towards the exit. Wait a moment, Sun Tianhua sighed, then gestured, and a small egg, roughly the size of an infant, floated over. This egg was an accidental discovery of mine, but its origins remain a mystery to all clans. I have attempted various methods to incubate it, yet to no avail. Initially, I intended to reserve it for a fated descendant in the future, but now the continuity of the Sun family is uncertain. Thus, I shall present it to you. Lu Yu took the egg and examined it closely. The shell was pure white, resembling jade, with not a single blemish, and it felt remarkably solid. Had Sun Tianhua not explicitly stated it was an egg, Lu Yu would have mistaken it for a piece of exquisite jade. He quietly reflected on the events of his past life, realizing that not a single race matched this egg. However, it was understandable. Even Sun Tianhua was unaware of its origins, making it improbable for him to know. Senior, are you certain this egg is still alive? As soon as Lu Yu's words fell, a red light suddenly emanated from within the pristine shell. There was no need for Sun Tianhua to respond. The egg itself was demonstrating that it was very much alive. Was it afraid he would return to use it for a pancake? It was undoubtedly alive. As every time he questioned its vitality, it would glow as it had just now. Yet, for all these years, it had remained in this state. He hesitated to subdue it, fearing that once he did, it would forever remain merely an egg, which was why he had left it untouched until now. Sun Tianhua refrained from subduing the egg, as he could not elevate his summoned beast. However, Lu Yu was different. He could provide experience to his summoned creatures. If he fed it enough experience, would that not expedite its hatching? With this thought, Lu Yu raised his staff. The life within the egg seemed to sense the threat of death, beginning to glow fiercely in alarm. Yet Lu Yu no longer indulged it. He unleashed a falling rock spell, and massive stones plummeted from the void, crashing down upon the egg. To his astonishment, after enduring several blows from the boulders, the shell remained intact, merely developing a few fine cracks. Sun Tianhua stood aside without interference. He understood that although they were both abyss summoners, Lu Yu was clearly on a higher level. What he could not achieve, Lu Yu might be able to accomplish. This egg had lingered by his side for so many years, and even if it were to remain for many more, it might never hatch. What use was an unhatched egg? It was better to take a risk. What if it truly could be brought to life? Moreover, Sun Tianhua was now also Lu Yu's summoned beast, and he had no position to obstruct Lu Yu's endeavors. Lu Yu continued to wield his staff, causing massive boulders to crash down. This egg was indeed alive. As a living entity, once slain by Lu Yu, it would inevitably enter the summoning space. At last, after another boulder fell, the jade-white egg shattered completely. Before Lu Yu could discern the creature within, its contents, along with the shattered shell, transformed into a beam of light and soared into Lu Yu's summoning space. In haste, Lu Yu examined the summoning space and discovered, nestled in a corner, an egg identical to the previous one, and scathed. Could this egg truly represent the final form of this species? Egg race. Lu Yu pondered. Then opened the information panel of the jade-white egg. Introduction. Residual life. Goodness. The number of question marks associated with this egg surpassed even that of the golden devouring beast at the entrance. Chapter 184. Luck Value Reward. After Lu Yu had subdued the egg, he still could not access its information. This indicated only one possibility. The egg was intrinsically linked to the abyss itself. Lu Yu gently touched the jade-white egg. Henceforth, you shall be called Eggy. A flicker of red light emanated from Eggy, seemingly in agreement. Lu Yu placed Eggy back in its original spot. Senior, let us depart. Very well, but one thing, once we are outside, ensure that my great-granddaughter remains unaware of my excursion with you. The thought of Sun Hanyu discovering that her ancestor has become the summoning beast of her own disciple fills Sun Tianhua with embarrassment. However, Lu Yu shared this sentiment with Sun Tianhua. It was best to keep this matter from Sun Hanyu for the time being. Lu Yu gathered Sun Tianhua and the other summoned beasts into the summoning space and proceeded towards the exit. In the darkness, the brightness of the exit was particularly striking. Lu Yu observed the fist-sized opening expanding before him until it enveloped his entire being. In the next moment, the white light dissipated, and Lu Yu found himself back in the outside world. System notification: congratulations on completing your first job transition. As the first player to achieve this milestone, you are awarded Level 1, Luck Value 2. System announcement: congratulations to player Qingjio for completing their first job transition. As the first player to achieve this milestone, you are awarded Level 1, Luck Value 2. The announcement was broadcasted throughout the entire server 3 times as usual. This reward was rather mundane, nonetheless. Lu Yu felt a surge of excitement within. Luck Value had been granted once again. Compared to other items and equipment, Luck Value was the most elusive reward. While it does not directly enhance attributes, it truly augments one's fortune. In reality, luck is intangible, but in the abyss, it can be quantified. During the last establishment of the faction, the system awarded 2 points. Now, having completed the job transition, he received another 2 points, totaling 4 points. Lu Yu was elated. But upon looking up, he noticed Sun Hanyu still waiting at the cave entrance. She sat upon the verdant grass, surrounded by a myriad of wondrous creatures. Before her, a diminutive pink bat flitted about. Upon the emergence of Lu Yu, Sun Hanyu hastily rose to her feet, exclaiming, "How did you return so swiftly? Did you not pass the trial?" Since Lu Yu entered the trial, scarcely half an hour had elapsed. For an ordinary summoner, half an hour would typically be spent nurturing a bond with their newly summoned beast, let alone the arduous battle that awaited thereafter. Displaying his ID, Lu Yu revealed his profession as Abyss Summoner. First transition, I have successfully passed the trial. It felt rather effortless. Sun Hanyu pursed her lips, recalling that Lu Yu did not require the same emotional connection with his summoned creatures. Did you see that old man? What old man? Lu Yu instinctively denied, while a sense of astonishment washed over him. Could it be that Sun Hanyu had discovered that he had spirited away her ancestor? You didn't see him? The elderly gentleman who summoned the beast to battle you at the end. Oh, you mean him? I've seen him, indeed. Lu Yu sighed in relief. Thankfully, Sun Hanyu still believed she had undergone the established trial. That old man is my great-great-great-grandfather. He claimed to be an Abyss Summoner, just like you. However, I suspect he may have been boasting. In truth, he was not exaggerating. Your great-great-great-grandfather was indeed an Abyss Summoner, albeit slightly inferior to me. Lu Yu feigned shock. So that venerable elder is your ancestor. I initially wondered who he was, as he seemed more than my equal in combat. Spare me. He is also of second transition strength. Your prowess and his are likely comparable only because he went easy on you. By the way, did he say anything to you when you met him? Lu Yu faltered momentarily, for he had much to recount. Yet most of it was not suitable for her ears. That incessant talker must have bombarded you with questions. When I first entered, it was manageable. However, from the second time onward, he persistently urged me to marry. He insisted that if I found someone suitable, I must bring them back for his approval. Thus, the old man's earlier remarks about marrying Sun Hanyu were not merely a probe of Lu Yu's intentions. Alas, he is rather lonely within there, Sun Hanyu said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Since the fall of her family and the departure of her parents, Sun Tianhua, the figure in the trial, had become her sole kin. Though they had met but thrice, he held a significant place in her heart. Before she established her refuge, whenever faced with difficulties or grievances, she would run to the cave entrance and weep, believing that her great-great-great-grandfather in the trial could hear her voice. Before entering the trial grounds, she would often linger for a couple of days, not due to the time needed to conquer the challenges, but rather to converse a little longer with her great-great-great-grandfather. This time, with Lu Yu's return, she harbored the same intention of allowing him to share moments with her ancestor. However, she did not anticipate Lu Yu's swift exit. Upon seeing the sorrow etched on Sun Hanyu's face, Lu Yu found himself at a loss for words. He could not empathize with his mentor, as Sun Tianhua had already emerged, residing within his summoning space. A fleeting glance revealed the old man animatedly holding the hand of Widow Wang, engrossed in conversation. A surge of impulse coursed through Lu Yu. He yearned to summon Sun Tianhua at that very moment to witness the distress of his great-great-great-granddaughter. How ironic that she mourned for you outside while you reveled in flirtation. Taking a few deep breaths, Lu Yu managed to quell this thought. It would not do to summon Sun Tianhua. Many things would become complicated. Mentor, I apologize, but I must ask you to endure your sorrow a while longer. After a brief moment, Sun Hanyu wiped her eyes and returned to her usual demeanor. Well, now that you have completed your first transformation, the primary purpose of your return has been fulfilled. Night has fallen, and we shall return tomorrow. Lu Yu discerned that Sun Hanyu wished to remain at home a little longer. Although this so-called home was now occupied solely by her, it served as her sanctuary. Lu Yu, understanding, had no further objections. Having just completed his transformation, he was not in haste to level up. Recently, there was little occurring in Lingfeng City. With various factions engaged in frenzied leveling, there was no urgency to venture into the territories of other races for the night. Lu Yu followed Sun Hanyu back to the thatched cottage. The portraits of her parents had been meticulously rolled up again. It was then that Lu Yu took a moment to observe the entire room. Quite simple, with only a heated Kong. Chapter 185. The money-absorbing ring. The night passed in silence. At dawn, Lu Yu leaned against the wall as he exited the thatched cottage. It had been many years since he had slept on the floor, and after finally drifting off last night, he awoke feeling remarkably stiff. Sun Hanyu had risen early. She was outside on the grass, personally feeding her summoned beasts. Upon noticing Lu Yu's emergence, she smiled and remarked, surprisingly, you don't snore while sleeping. Lu Yu replied, is it strange not to snore? I recall my father snoring incessantly when he slept, and my mother would always send him outside. All right, the time has come. We should be on our way, Lu Yu stated. The pair retraced their steps until they reached a towering wall. Just as Sun Hanyu was about to awaken Qianqian, she noticed that the golden swallowing beast had already roused. A passageway, barely accommodating a single person, opened once more. Two individuals stepped into the passage and soon emerged from their secluded haven, returning to the dimly lit canyon. Sun Hanyu turned her head to bid farewell to Qianqian, only to discover that Qianqian's gaze remained fixated on Lu Yu, imbued with an indescribable significance, perhaps nostalgia, or a tinge of reluctance. Qianqian, we must take our leave and return to visit you after some time. The cliff trembled slightly as Qianqian extended her tongue, not to lick Sun Hanyu, but rather to draw closer to Lu Yu. A subtle shock coursed through Lu Yu. He did not perceive this golden swallowing beast as extending a gesture of goodwill. After all, the 3 million gold coins he had provided were but a mere trifle in the eyes of such a creature. It was more likely that it sensed Sun Tianhua, its former master, within his summoning space. Truly, as a boss of celestial rank, its perceptive abilities were formidable. The beast's tongue lightly brushed against the back of Lu Yu's hand, before unfurling to reveal a ring nestled within. Lu Yu accepted the ring and scrutinized it. Gold-absorbing ring, dark gold item, level, 40 magic power, 50 critical hit, 5 effect, gold absorption. Gold absorption, upon slaying wild creatures. The gold drop rate is increased tenfold, with a chance to transform the slain creature's corpse into gold. Description, an artifact birthed within the golden swallowing beast. It greatly enhances the wearer's fortune. Is this meant for me? Lu Yu inquired, holding the ring before Qianqian. The beast's tongue swayed gently up and down, affirming his assumption. Thank you, Qianqian. Lu Yu stepped forward and tenderly caressed the creature's body. The magnificent beast appeared immensely pleased, beaming with a radiant smile that reverberated through the cliffside. Sun Hanyu pouted slightly. Having lived here for such an extended period, she had never witnessed Qianqian this joyous. Lu Yu bade farewell to Qianqian once more, and then leaped onto Yai's back. A A sudden gust of wind swept through the canyon as Yaya leapt into the air, soaring beyond the canyon's confines. My dear apprentice, do you not intend to clarify matters with your master? Clarify what? What exactly transpired between you and my great-great-great-grandfather? Qianqian's elation surely signified that she sensed his presence. Did he bestow upon you some splendid gift? Not at all. I exited immediately after completing my job change. He didn't even impart any skills to me. Really? Of course. If I were lying, let lightning strike me down. How childish. Fine. I'll temporarily take your word for it. Though Sun Hanyu spoke in jest, Lu Yu could acutely feel her skepticism. Yet, there was no way around it. What he had conveyed was indeed the truth. He had, in fact, exited immediately after his job change, without acquiring any skills. It was merely a matter of casually bringing Sun Tianhua along. Lu Yu retrieved the gold-absorbing ring, a piece of jewelry with rather ordinary attributes. Yet its effects were astonishingly remarkable. It was as if it had been tailor-made for the purpose of acquiring gold coins. Boasting a commendable rank akin to that of dark gold artifacts, primarily due to its gold absorption effect, Lu Yu recalled that Sun Hanyu had once bestowed upon him a bronze ring, the radiant gold ring. The effect of that ring granted a mere one chance of an additional gold coin drop. Lu Yu speculated that the radiant gold ring likely also originated from the gold-eating beast, yet in comparison to his own gold-absorbing ring, it paled into insignificance. Currently, on his left hand, Lu Yu wore a golden ring retrieved from the golden treasury, while on his right was the ring of emotional sorrow, known for its ability to absorb the attributes of other equipment. Without hesitation, Lu Yu brought the gold-absorbing ring close to emotional sorrow. System notification detected that the gold-absorbing ring grade does not exceed that of an earth artifact. Would you like to proceed with absorption? Yes. System notification, your equipment, emotional sorrow, will absorb gold-absorbing ring. Effects and attributes will change. Remaining absorbable quantity, 810. The gold-absorbing ring in Lu Yu's hand vanished, and the attributes of emotional sorrow transformed. Emotional sorrow, earth artifact, level, 60 health, 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 magic power, 51 critical strike, 1 effect 1. Bound by emotion. This effect allows for the absorption of attributes and effects from other equipment of the same type, with a chance to enhance the effects. Effect 2. Familiarity. Reduces the level requirement for the user by 25 levels. Effect 3. Venomous Foam. When attacking, there is a 5 chance to inflict the target with a poison state, lasting 30 seconds. Effect 4. Frantic Gold Absorption. Increases the gold drop rate from wild monsters by 20 times, with a chance to drop rare items. Following the absorption, the effects of the gold-absorbing ring changed, doubling the gold drop rate once again. Furthermore, the effect that turned corpses into gold was modified to instead yield rare items. This alteration took Lu Yu by surprise, yet it was fortuitous. He had just been concerned that the wild monsters he defeated would all enter his summoning space. What if the effect of turning corpses into gold were to trigger? Would a pure golden monster be drawn into the summoning space? If this occurred during a boss battle, it would undoubtedly lead to his despair. Lu Yu was quite pleased with this change in effect. Over an hour later, Yaya finally soared up to the cliffside and landed upon the ground. Sun Hanyu turned around and asked, "Do you intend to return to the Gathering of Heroes with me, or do you have your own plans?" After a moment of contemplation, Lu Yu concluded that there was little left to accomplish at the Gathering of Heroes. "Master, I believe I shall return to Lingfeng City." "I suppose so. I bear a grudge against that old fellow, Song Qingyin, so I shall not accompany you. You may return on your own." "You too have a grievance with that old man, I see." This revelation took Lu Yu by surprise. No wonder the Gathering Heroes village is so distant from Lingfeng City. "Very well, dear mentor, I shall take my leave. By the way, when you prepare to visit the Nether clan, do remember to call upon me. Do not forget." "I shall keep it in mind." As Lu Yu spoke, he retrieved an abyssal eye from his backpack and presented it before Sun Hanyu. "Mentor, please accept this abyssal eye as a token of my gratitude." Sun Hanyu had guided Lu Yu into the family's trial grounds, and Lu Yu felt immense appreciation for her. Yet, at this moment, it seemed that the abyssal eye was the only offering he could provide. After all, he possessed 2. Giving away one would still allow him to traverse the racial barriers. Sun Hanyu accepted the abyssal eye without hesitation. "I must return to Gathering Heroes village. Having been away for 2 days, I can only imagine the chaos that awaits. My diligent disciple, do not forget to join me in hunting the Qingtian cow next time." Lu Yu nodded in agreement. Yaya soared into the sky, swiftly vanishing from Lu Yu's sight. Lu Yu watched Sun Hanyu depart, and then opened his map, momentarily at a loss for words. The distance to Lingfeng City was over 1,000 miles. Even on horseback, it would take a day and a night to traverse. Blast it. Had I known, I would have followed Sun Hanyu back to Gathering Heroes Village first. The time taken to reach Gathering Heroes Village before returning to Lingfeng City would be roughly the same. Yet riding upon a dragon's back would require no effort on his part. Chapter 186. A reunion. Sun Hanyu and Yaya had long since disappeared from sight. As an NPC, Sun Hanyu lacked a system and could not add friends for chatting. Lu Yu had no choice but to summon a steed and a black-headed eagle. He mounted his steed, instructing the eagle to scout ahead as he galloped toward Lingfeng City. If only the black-headed eagle could carry me. Its speed and flight would surely surpass that of any horse. Unfortunately, despite its large size, the eagle was incapable of riding the winds. While it could manage short-distance flights with a passenger, it could not endure over longer distances. At this juncture, the significance of the city return scroll became abundantly clear. Ordinary players simply needed to click to use it, and after a few seconds, they would be transported back to the spring waters. Lu Yu shook his head and continued to spur his steed onward. Fortunately, his steed possessed remarkable endurance, and within his summoning space, he had 3 others to alternate riding. Lu Yu surveyed the land around him. For hundreds of miles, it was an expanse of boundless Gobi Desert. It was said to be the remnants of an ancient battlefield, thus rendering it a desolate place. In his previous life, the final days before his demise were spent here. After the fall of Lingfeng City, the alien forces pressed toward the nearest primary stronghold, the glorious capital, Yong'an City. This very site had become the battleground where humanity resisted the advancing alien army. The battle raged for at least 3 days and nights, culminating in the demise of Lu Yu at the hands of the stealthy son of the underworld on the 3rd night. As for the fate of Yong'an City, Lu Yu could only speculate, believing that humanity could withstand the onslaught for some time. However, faced with the looming threat of millions of alien invaders, the city's fall was inevitable. Yet, what significance did the fall of the city in his past life hold for him now? In his previous existence, Lu Yu had devoted himself entirely to the defense of humanity, leaving him with a clear conscience. In this life, however, he would not allow the alien forces to encroach upon human territory even a single step. As his steed galloped across the arid expanse, Lu Yu surveyed the familiar terrain, memories of the past flooding his mind. Suddenly, a warning call emanated from a black-headed eagle soaring above. Lu Yu opened his spiritual sight, merging his vision with that of the eagle, granting him an unobstructed view of the desolate landscape. Even the slightest movement of dried grass in the wind was visible. Approximately a kilometer ahead, 3 figures were moving slowly. "Brother, we've been traveling for 2 or 3 days. Are you certain we're in the right vicinity?" one asked. "My NPC mentor assured me that this ancient relic holds what we seek," another replied. "Is that unreliable old man trustworthy?" questioned the first, though he may be dubious. "As long as you indulge him for a night at the brothel, the information he provides is generally reliable," came the response. "I never expected this game to lack such restrictions. Had I known, I would have resolved everything within the game," the first voice remarked. "A night costs only 100 gold coins, far cheaper than in reality. You should consider the quality of those in the brothel," the second voice retorted. "Hee, brother. We're short on funds now, but once we have money, we can visit the Lovebirds Pavilion. I've heard their top courtesan is exceptional," the first voice mused. "Shoo, be quiet. There's a boss overhead. We must not be detected," warned the second. Lu Yu gazed down at the 3 familiar faces, momentarily at a loss for words. How was it that he encountered these individuals wherever he went? What brought them this far? Leveling up? The nearby monsters began at level 60. Were they mad to seek experience here? These 3 were not inclined to act without motive. If not to level up, they were certainly here to scavenge. The ancient relics might have once housed numerous valuable items, but after so many years, most had succumbed to the ravages of time. Even if a few items of worth remained, they would have long been claimed by other NPCs. Lu Yu reined in his steed and summoned a green-hatted goblin, stealthily approaching the trio. He then called back the black-headed eagle, eager to uncover what these 3 were truly in search of. "Brother, the boss has departed," one said. The second, with closed eyes and furrowed brow, seemed to be concentrating intently on something, while the third and the first fell silent, sensing the tension. Since the trio entered the secondary main city, misfortune has consistently shadowed them. Despite their skills surpassing those of ordinary players, their levels remain beneath the average of Lingfeng City. Recently, their meager earnings have solely stemmed from their endeavors in mining at the elderly care facility. It was evident that their activities there had piqued some awareness, as they were now diligently seeking a specific location. Suddenly, the elderly care facility's eyes opened wide. "Found it. Let us go." In that direction, the 3 swiftly moved forward. Lu Yu, utilizing the vision granted by the green hat goblin, observed their trajectory. It seems they are approaching my position." Moments later, seated upon his steed, Lu Yu spotted 3 figures in the distance. At the same time, they finally caught sight of Lu Yu. Instantly, their faces morphed into expressions of despair. "Night kicks the widow's door," exclaimed. "Why must we encounter this scoundrel everywhere?" The elderly care facility slapped his younger brother on the back of the head. "Silence. Now that we've all seen each other, we can't pretend to slip away unnoticed." With a faint smile, the elderly care facility cautiously approached Lu Yu. "Esteemed Master Qingjiu, what a coincidence to meet you here again. Truly, it is our fortune." "Oh, is that so? Yet I just heard someone remark about encountering this scoundrel again," Lu Yu replied. The elderly care facility immediately pulled Night Kicks the Widow's door forward. "You rascal, daring to babble before Master Qingjiu. Just wait until I teach you a lesson." As he spoke, the elderly care facility prepared to strike. However, Lu Yu, uninterested in their theatrics, directly inquired, "What brings you so far afield?" Chapter 187. 2 pieces of abyssal eye. The elderly care facility chuckled. "Master Qingjiu, the last time we met, you mentioned your fondness for a particular stone and your willingness to purchase it at a high price." "Stone?" Lu Yu pondered. recalling their previous encounter in the Golden Stone secret realm. The Abyssal Eye. He quickly remembered how he had inadvertently led the elderly care facility to discover an abyssal eye during their mining exploration. He had informed them that if they found more, he would buy them at a premium. Were they genuinely seeking that, or? The elderly care facility nodded earnestly. Absolutely. I acquired information from my mentor in my side profession, stating that this area should contain such or. Thus, the three of us came to try our luck. As he spoke, he deliberately wore an innocent expression. Knight Kicks the Widow's door turned his head away, displaying a hint of indignation. Observing Knight Kicks the Widow's demeanor, Lu Yu was convinced to a large extent. Although this fellow was not trustworthy, he was the least adept at concealing his thoughts. The look on his face seemed to convey, I am merely trying to find something for you, yet you just berated me. Lu Yu couldn't help but chuckle and inquired, what have you discovered? The one kicking the kindergarten replied, we initially made a discovery, and then we ran this way, only to find you. The one punching the nursing home added, just now, I sensed 3 of those stones, and to my surprise, they turned out to be you. I thought, such precious items. How could they all appear at once? 3, you say? Lu Yu glanced at his backpack, which contained only one abyssal eye. The other had already been given to Sun Hanyu. Are you certain you sensed 3? The one punching the nursing home nodded. All in my vicinity? He nodded again. Please, take a moment to feel it again. Upon hearing Lu Yu's words, the one punching the nursing home promptly closed his eyes, his brows furrowed in concentration. Soon, a hint of confusion crossed his face. After a moment, he slowly opened his eyes, saying, esteemed Qingjiu, it seems a bit peculiar. While it is true that all 3 stones are in your vicinity, it appears that 2 of them are not on your person, but beneath your feet. Beneath my feet? Lu Yu deliberately urged his centaur to move a distance away. The one punching the nursing home did not wait for Lu Yu's command, and immediately began to scout again. This time, he quickly opened his eyes, excitedly shouting to Lu Yu, esteemed Qingjiu. Indeed, there are 2 of those stones beneath the ground right here. Without hesitation, Lu Yu raised his hand and summoned a dozen dwarf miners. Mining the abyssal eye was not akin to mining ore, and having a mining side job was not essential. However, dwarven miners with such a side job worked more efficiently than other summoned beasts. The dozen dwarves swung their shovels and pickaxes, fervently digging in the spot indicated by the one punching the nursing home. The one punching the nursing home carefully directed, Dear dwarf, please dig a bit to the left. You there, no need to change positions, just continue digging downwards. After several minutes of vigorous digging, a substantial pit was formed, yet the abyssal eye remained elusive. Lu Yu was unperturbed. Having traversed ancient ruins without prior knowledge, he understood that these 3 were not waiting here in advance. This encounter was purely coincidental. Moreover, the confident demeanor of the one punching the nursing home suggested that, despite the lengthy excavation, his gaze was increasingly illuminated, likely sensing their proximity to the abyssal eye. Indeed, after a few more minutes of digging, the one punching the nursing home suddenly exclaimed, Gentlemen dwarves, slow down. We are close to uncovering it. Lu Yu dismounted and recalled the excess dwarven miners, leaving only 2 behind. He instructed them to proceed slowly according to the one punching the nursing home's guidance. Before long, after breaking through another stone, a profound eye emerged. The abyssal eye. With a satisfied smile, the one known as punching the elderly home turned to Lu Yu, saying, The next piece lies just beneath this one. Lu Yu nodded, commanding the dwarf miners to continue their excavation. Soon, 2 abyssal eyes were unearthed. The dwarf miners presented the 2 abyssal eyes to Lu Yu. He accepted them and examined them closely. Both were roughly the size of a fist. Similar in size to the one he kept in his backpack, albeit slightly smaller than the one he had given to Sun Hanyu. Lu Yu felt a surge of joy. Initially, he believed that after giving one abyssal eye to Sun Hanyu, he would have to venture into foreign lands alone. Now, having acquired 2 more, he could bring along 2 additional companions. At the very least, he intended to take the innocent youth with him. If Ru Mingjiang then could transcend racial barriers, it would be even better to bring her along. Lu Yu glanced at punching the elderly home. The discovery of the 2 abyssal eyes was entirely due to this individual's efforts. He had previously promised that if more abyssal eyes were found, he would purchase them at a premium. Naturally, he could not go back on his word. However, he had just spent all his gold. And although he possessed several pieces of equipment, they were all of level 60 to 70. While valuable, offering such equipment would undoubtedly be a disservice. Should he give them away, punching the elderly home would certainly not exert himself in seeking abyssal eyes again. Ultimately, Lu Yu decided to hear punching the elderly home's thoughts. Speak. What do you desire? Upon hearing Lu Yu mention the matter of rewards, punching the elderly home immediately perked up. He had been worried that Lu Yu might overlook this issue, given that the 3 of them had previously offended this esteemed figure rather gravely in the novice village. Now, seeing Lu Yu bring it up voluntarily, he felt a sense of relief. Rubbing his hands together, he tentatively said, Great Lord of Clear Wine, the 3 of us have long admired you and your guild, the Lords of the Abyss, yet we have never met the level requirements. Might you consider making an exception and allowing us to join? Lu Yu's eyes widened slightly in surprise. He had never anticipated that punching the elderly home would make such a request. However, he quickly recalled that during their time in the Golden Stone secret realm, when he had instructed a goblin assassin to monitor them, Punching the elderly home had likely harbored this thought. Who could have imagined he would actually voice it? Equally astonished were the ones known as kicking the kindergarten and Knight kicking the widow's door. Punching the elderly home had only mentioned this idea to them in passing, never formalizing it. Although they were not blood brothers, it was evident that they regarded punching the elderly home as their leader. Today, with their elder brother making such a statement, the two younger brothers were surprised but chose not to elaborate further. Liu pondered for a moment. The three of them wished to join the Lords of the Abyss, yet they did not meet the requisite criteria in any regard, especially in terms of character. Liu has always harbored considerable prejudice against the three individuals. However, with the proposition from the punching the nursing home, he found it difficult to refuse outright. Given your current circumstances, it is undoubtedly impossible for you to join. Upon hearing Liu's words, punching the nursing home expressed a hint of disappointment. Nevertheless, Liu continued. However, I can allow you to serve as external members for the time being. If you pass the assessment, I shall make an exception and permit you to join the Abyss Lord. Upon hearing Liu's statement, the eyes of punching the nursing home instantly lit up. Thank you, leader. Hold on. I have yet to agree to your joining. But in our hearts, we already consider ourselves members of the Abyss Lord. Rest assured, leader. We shall strictly abide by the guild rules. A few days ago, Uncompromising drafted the guild regulations, which were subsequently published after Liu's review, and a copy was also posted on the forum. Now, everyone is aware of the contents of the Abyss Lord's guild rules. Liu smiled gently. All right, I will inform Uncompromising shortly. You may go report to him now. Yes. Chapter 188. I can be anywhere. Having received Liu's permission, the three individuals immediately took out their town return scrolls. In a flash of light, punching the nursing home and his companions appeared at the spring waters of Lingfeng City. Knight kicking the widow's door exclaimed, Brother, are we really going to join the Abyss Lord? Foot kicking kindergarten also cast a questioning glance. Although they were willing to follow punching the nursing home, they still felt somewhat disgruntled. I was thinking, why not ask Qingjio for a sum of tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands? To indulge ourselves for a few days? Why must we join this ridiculous gang? Knight kicking the widow's door received a slap on the back of his head. Brother, why did you hit me again? Qingjio cannot return to the city. He certainly won't hear this. Now that we have decided to join the Abyss Lord, we can no longer speak ill of it behind its back. Foot kicking kindergarten hesitated for a moment and asked, Brother, do you have some news? Punching the nursing home shook his head. No, but even if there were news, you would already know. What news? It's about yesterday's headline. Our richest man, the leader of the Champions Alliance, Du Guohua, has nearly sold off all his assets in reality. Moreover, he has invested all the capital he extracted into the Abyss. This was the headline news yesterday. Du Guohua initially wished to keep a low profile, but his vast conglomerate has turned into a shell in just half a month. He arranged for all employees to enter the Abyss. Those unwilling to do so simply resigned. This incident has caused a nationwide stir and further propelled the popularity of the Abyss. Brother, what does this have to do with our joining the Abyss Lord? Punching the nursing home replied. The early spring waters reveal the warmth to the ducks. Do you think Du Guohua is a fool? The two shook their heads. Do you understand why Du Guohua has chosen this path? The two continued to shake their heads. Brother, do you know? The one who punched the nursing home also shook his head. While I am unaware of the reasons, it strikes me as peculiar that Du Guohua would abandon such a vast fortune, opting instead to plunge entirely into the abyss. Does it not seem strange to you? The one who kicked the kindergarten fell into contemplation. Is there perhaps a lucrative opportunity within the abyss? Nonsense. Scoffed the one who kicked the widow's door. His expression one of disdain. He has yet to recover even the cost of a gaming pod. If there were truly a chance for great wealth, I would sooner believe that the abyss is on the verge of merging with reality. Third brother, you've read too many novels. Remarked the one who punched the nursing home with a smile. Regardless of the validity of the lucrative opportunity, Du Guohua's full commitment to the abyss signifies something important. This is precisely why I am determined to join the Lord of the Abyss. The one who kicked the kindergarten seemed to grasp the implication. The Lord of the Abyss is currently the most powerful faction in the realm. Hence brother seeks to board this swift vessel. The one who punched the nursing home nodded. While we may lack the strength ourselves, following the mightiest surely allows us a taste of their bounty. The one who kicked the kindergarten wholeheartedly agreed. Yet, the one who kicked the widow's door appeared disheartened. Brother, let us not discuss feasting on meat and broth. Our electricity bill next month is nearly beyond our means. If we do not devise a way to earn some money, we may not even be able to enter the game next month. This is easily resolved. The Champion Alliance has been aggressively acquiring gold, equipment, and items lately. Let us pay a visit to the Unfettered and see if we can persuade him to grant us a few young wolves, so we may level up and obtain gear. Very well, I shall heed your advice. The three departed from the spring to contact the Unfettered. Moments later, the pure-hearted youth appeared by the spring. It seems the new recruits that brother has gathered possess some wit. She sent the recorded video of their earlier conversation to Liu. Liu was currently riding through the wilderness. Before the three returned to the city, he had instructed the pure-hearted youth to wait by the spring to ascertain their true intentions. To his surprise, the pure-hearted youth responded swiftly. After watching the video, Liu found himself momentarily speechless. The one who punched the nursing home truly exemplifies the intellect of their elder brother. Yet the one who kicked the widow's door, being a simpleton, possesses a certain charm. Were it not for his understanding of their personalities, Lu Yu might have doubted whether they had indeed perceived the essence of the abyss. The trio in the video did not appear to be acting. These seemed to be their genuine thoughts. Wishing to earn some money within the abyss is understandable, as long as it does not involve the alien races. Thus, there is no need for the pure-hearted youth to continue monitoring the three. Lu Yu sent an affirmative message to the innocent youth and then added, I should be back near Lingfeng City by tonight. At that time, you and Rumeng Jiang Nen should wait for me at Wanjin Mountain. Brother, it's the dead of night. Are you planning something thrilling by bringing us two delicate girls to such a remote place? Thrilling, you say? Nonsense. It has been quite a while since I last spoke with the innocent youth, and I nearly forgot how fierce this little girl can be. Let us keep it a secret for now. Just bring Rumeng along and find a secluded spot where we attract attention. All right, brother. I'm fine with anywhere. But Rumeng might be shy, so a less populated place would be preferable. Lu Yu sighed, deciding to disregard the innocent youth's concerns. From now on, I should limit Rumeng Jiang Nan's interactions with her to prevent this pure girl from being led astray. Chapter 189. Attending to business after a long day of travel. Lu Yu finally returned to the vicinity of Lingfeng City. He opened the chat with the innocent youth, hesitated for a moment, and then closed it again. Next, he opened the conversation with Rumeng Jiang Nan. Rumeng, have you arrived at Wanjin Mountain? In less than 3 seconds, Rumeng Jiang Nan replied, Boss, we are in a cave at Wanjin Mountain leveling up. Sister Innocent even took me to the romantic pool for a bath. The opportunity to continue mingling with the Lord of the Abyss depends on our performance tonight. Boss, is there something significant happening tonight? Lu Yu thought to himself. The innocent youth really dares to say anything. And you, Rumeng, do you believe everything she says? Going to the romantic pool for a bath? Why didn't you take her to the fun shop in Lingfeng City to buy some props? Don't listen to the innocent nonsense. Send me your coordinates. I'll come find you. Okay, boss. Lu Yu currently possessed 3 abyssal eyes, theoretically allowing 3 individuals to pass through the racial barrier. He and the innocent youth could undoubtedly cross, but whether anyone else could join them remained uncertain. According to Wang Dachui, entry was not guaranteed. The odds were exceedingly slim. Nevertheless, Lu Yu decided to take Rumeng Jiang Nan along. Entering the realm of other races was an exceedingly perilous endeavor. Bringing along someone unprepared could endanger that individual. Rumeng Jiang Nan was a carefully considered choice. This little girl possessed both skills and dexterity. Her title as the foremost healer among the human race was not mere embellishment. Moreover, Lu Yu genuinely hoped that Rumeng Jiang Nan could pass through the racial barrier. If she could enter the realm of other races alongside him, their safety would undoubtedly increase significantly. Yet, this little girl was not a profession of the abyss. So whether she could successfully enter remained a mystery. It was all a matter of luck. Soon, a coordinate was sent over. It was not a message from the enchanting Jiang Nan, but rather from a pure-hearted youth. Brother, this is our current location. Why did you message Jiang Nan instead of me upon your arrival? Are you hoping to witness a dramatic performance of jealous sisters vying for the affection of a beloved? Lu Yu thought to himself, why is this guy so verbose? If you keep babbling, I might just come over and give you a beating. Woo-woo. It turns out my brother enjoys this circle. However, I fear pain. Yet for the sake of my brother, I shall learn to like it. Lu Yu pondered. What circle is she speaking of? Let us not digress. Which factions are currently active near Wanjin Mountain? After the disappearance of the dwarven miners, other wild creatures like pangolins have begun to spawn here, predominantly around level 30, which is ideal for the mainstream players' leveling maps. Mainly, it is the members of the Champion Alliance and the Huan Alliance who are present here, and their relationship seems quite amicable. Besides them, there are also many solo players. But rest assured, brother, I found a cave that is uninhabited, and its soundproofing is excellent. I just called out a couple of times for a test. And the neighboring cave, didn't he hear a thing? Lu Yu replied, enough already. He decisively closed the chat window once more. He shouldn't have engaged in conversation with this fellow. After all, he had brought back such a character from the general's tomb. Lu Yu was increasingly anxious about the pure-hearted youth's expedition among the foreign races. He feared that if he lost his composure, he might inadvertently harm the youth. Nonetheless, he was already aware of both their locations. The players leveling near Wanjin Mountain maintained a decent rapport with Lu Yu, alleviating his concerns as he sped towards Wanjin Mountain. Under the full moon, a series of undulating peaks unfolded before Lu Yu. Wanjin Mountain, one of the significant mines of the dwarven race. Lu Yu checked his status. His ID remained hidden, and his equipment eschine was turned off. Aside from the conspicuous red name, there were no other issues. Following the map's guidance, he entered Wanjin Mountain. Players leveling here were not few, just as the pure-hearted youth had mentioned. Most were from the Champion Alliance and the Huan Alliance. It appeared these two factions had reached some form of collaboration, with many leveling parties composed of players from both guilds. The union of the nation's wealthiest with official entities is not an unfathomable concept. When Duke Wohua sought to purchase Lu Yu's first guild token, Lu Yu realized that his good brother likely possessed knowledge of some deeper truths regarding the Abyss. Later, Duke Wohua sold all his assets in reality and invested them all into the Abyss, further confirming this suspicion. Now he had allied with the official organization once more, demonstrating that this practical man was far from past his prime. No wonder the Champion Alliance has consistently remained one of the most elite factions among the human race. Du Guohua and Li Wei were likely training in the vicinity as well. However, after a moment of contemplation, Lu Yu decided against the idea of greeting them. The back and forth would consume an unnecessary amount of time. Most importantly, he wished to keep the matter of entering the alien tribes discreet. The peril of venturing into foreign territories was already immense. The more individuals privy to this information, the greater the risk of leakage. It is not that Du Guohua and Li Wei were traitors to humanity. Quite the opposite, they were among the most loyal to humankind. Should they ever betray humanity, Lu Yu believed he might as well retreat into seclusion as a hermit. Yet, being in the company of such prominent figures, there was always the possibility of encountering alien spies. A careless remark could easily be overheard by someone with ulterior motives. Navigating away from the main crowd and guided by the map, Lu Yu soon arrived at the designated coordinates. Ru Mingjiangnan and the pure youth had been waiting at the cave's entrance. Ru Mingjiangnan donned a pristine JK uniform, while the pure youth was clad in a sailor suit. Much of their skin was exposed, undeniably provoking a visceral reaction at first glance. Lu Yu inquired, "Why are you dressed in such attire? What about your gear?" "Hee. Big brother, this outfit was purchased from Old Wang's fun shop. How does it look? Comfortable, right?" The pure youth replied with a grin. "Rest assured, these clothes are merely for show." At that moment, Lu Yu felt an overwhelming urge to reprimand the pure youth for their frivolity. He had summoned them for serious matters. What preparations had they made? Was this truly appropriate? "Hurry and take them off," he insisted. Big brother, are you being so direct? Don't you want to engage in some foreplay?" The pure youth teased, while Ru Mingjiangnan blushed beside him. "I meant for you to remove your clothes," Lu Yu exclaimed. Instantly regretting his words, he watched as the pure youth's face turned crimson, slowly beginning to unbutton their attire. "All right, I thought you would help me with it, big brother," they replied coyly. Lu Yu buried his face in his hands. "Enough of this nonsense. We have serious matters to attend to. Besides, pure youth, your voice is not suited for such banter. It is quite chastity-inducing." Seeing Lu Yu's serious demeanor, the two young women ceased their teasing and changed back into their original gear. Lu Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief and summoned Wang Dachui. Chapter 190. The entrance. As Wang Dachui materialized, he nearly stumbled to the ground, his health points plummeting drastically. Ru Mingjiangnan, quick to react, skillfully restored his vitality. Only then did Wang Dachui manage to stand upright. He bowed to Lu Yu and weakly uttered, "Master, what are your commands?" "I am preparing to venture into the dwarven territory. Kindly guide us to the entrance," Lu Yu instructed. Wang Dachui's eyes instantly lit up. Lu Yu's intention to explore the dwarven realm surely indicated a quest he had set forth in his previous life. In his lifetime, Wang Dachui had once engaged in a transaction with Lu Yu in the form of a task. He revealed to Lu Yu the method to enter the realm of the dwarves, while Lu Yu was to disclose the cause of death of the Wan Jinshan dwarves to the highest mountain craftsman of the dwarven clan. The original deadline for this task was a month, and with less than 10 days remaining, Lu Yu was finally set to visit the dwarven clan. Wang Dachui could hardly contain his excitement. "Please, follow me," he said, stepping out of the cave, with Lu Yu and the others trailing closely behind. To gain entry into the dwarven clan, one must first locate an evil map belonging to the dwarves. Originally, with the demise of all the Wan Jinshan dwarves, the evil map should have ceased to exist. However, due to Lu Yu's insistence on keeping Wang Dachui with him, the map remained. The Wan Jinshan was indeed a labyrinthine map that could bewilder even the gods. After traversing through a series of twisting caves, Lu Yu and his companions found themselves utterly lost. If not for Wang Dachui leading the way, Lu Yu feared he would search in vain for the location of the evil map until his last breath. At last, Wang Dachui halted before a cave wall. Gazing at it with a look of perplexity, Lu Yu's heart sank with concern. Could it be that this old man had also lost his way? "Wang Dachui, have you encountered a problem?" Wang Dachui shook his head. "Master, this is the entrance to the evil map, but what?" Lu Yu inquired, observing the wall that appeared no different from ordinary rock, secretly lamenting the possibility that the map had vanished. Wang Dachui continued to shake his head. "The map still exists. It seems that someone has entered. When I left, the wall did not look like this." "Someone has entered?" Lu Yu gazed at the wall, which showed not a single crack. How could one possibly gain entry? He placed his hand upon the wall, only to find it suddenly devoid of substance. "Master, if you simply charge ahead, you can access the evil map. I believe one could enter without needing to collide," Lu Yu replied. Nevertheless, the realization that someone else had discovered the evil map stirred a sense of unease within him. "Let us proceed," Lu Yu declared, leading the way inside, with Wang Dachui following closely behind. The innocent youth and the dreamlike Jiangnan exchanged glances but hesitated not for a moment, stepping into the evil map together, fully aware of its mechanisms. Their unhesitating stride was born entirely from their trust in Lu Yu. The instant the trio stepped into the evil map, each found themselves in possession of a map, precisely the map of this evil realm. System prompt: you have entered the Dwarven Clan's Wan Jinshan Cave evil map. Within this map, The equipment drop rate is 100, and the gold drop rate is also 100. Upon death, your level decreases by 5. And you cannot return to the spring. System prompt. Due to the disappearance of the boss within the Wanjinshan cave, players entering will directly receive a map. Within the realm of the dwarves, atop the true mountain of gold, the boss had already succumbed to poison. Thus, the malevolent map here lacked a corporeal entity to project, resulting in the absence of corresponding wild creatures. To assist the players seeking an exit, the Abyss generously provided a map free of charge. However, for Lu Yu, this map held little value, as it did not indicate the locations of the racial barriers. Everything relied on Wang Dazue. Without waiting for Lu Yu's command, Wang Dazue had already advanced ahead. The cavern was shrouded in darkness, rendering the path nearly invisible, illuminated only by the faint glow emanating from Lu Yu and the staff of Ru Meng Jiangnan. He felt as though he were a wanderer returning to his homeland, his hands brushing against the rocky walls. Yet, this homeland had long since changed beyond recognition, and tears brimmed in Wang Dazue's eyes. Lu Yu did not rush him, merely trailing behind at a leisurely pace. Suddenly, Wang Dazue halted, his gaze fixed intently ahead. Lu Yu followed his line of sight and beheld a player, clad in armor and wielding a brilliant golden spear, blocking their path. Ha ha ha. I thought this malevolent map held not a single wild creature. It appears they were merely concealed here. With that, the player lunged at Wang Dazue with the spear. Alarmed, Lu Yu realized that Wang Dazue, already fragile, would surely meet his demise from such an attack. Should Wang Dazue perish, he would have to wait at least 12 hours before being summoned again. Swiftly, Lu Yu stepped forward, using his staff to deflect the tip of the golden spear. At that moment, the Lord of the Underworld materialized behind the assailant. As the situation grew dire, Lu Yu noticed the 4 prominent characters hovering above the player's head. Huan, Tianxia. Taken aback, Lu Yu pondered how this individual had arrived here. Huan, Tianxia, recognizing Lu Yu's face, promptly withdrew his spear, exclaiming, "WC, what are you doing here?" The innocent youth rushed over, questioning, "What's the matter? Just because you can enter doesn't mean we can't. Furthermore, you just attempted to attack my brother's summoned beast. What were you thinking? A rebellion?" Caught off guard, Huan, Tianxia could only awkwardly scratch his nose. "I got lost in the cave and stumbled upon this malevolent map. I had hoped to rampage through, but after walking for ages, I haven't seen a single wild creature. The dwarf I finally spotted was a red name, and I failed to notice it was a summoned beast." Given that Lu Yu was consistently a prominent red name, his summoned beast naturally bore the same designation. Observing the flustered explanations from Huan, Tianxia, and the innocent youth, Lu Yu couldn't help but smile. This fellow had always been like this. He became anxious upon encountering innocent young girls. However, he decided to set aside such thoughts for the moment. "Wang Dazue, let us continue onward." Lu Yu was intent on focusing on their objective, yet Huan, Tianxia grew intrigued. "Are you searching for something? Does this map contain any rare items? Allow me to join you." Lu Yu did not refuse, allowing him to follow along. Only Lu Yu glanced over, noticing that this young man seemed to be intentionally or unintentionally drawing closer to the pure-hearted youth. Moreover, why was his face flushed with shyness? Just as Lu Yu was about to turn and inquire, Wang Dachui halted his steps, declaring, "Master, we are here." Chapter 191. Entering the abyss, Wang Dachui gazed at the ground ahead, where lay a depression roughly 1 meter in radius. To an ordinary person, it would merely appear as a natural contour within the cave, eliciting no suspicion. Only when one held the eye of the abyss could the anomaly be discerned. Lu Yu inspected the small hollow, realizing that without Wang Dachui's guidance, he would have overlooked its significance. Walking over it felt entirely normal, akin to traversing rocky terrain. He retrieved an eye of the abyss from his backpack, cradling it in his hand. Cautiously, he tested the ground with the tip of his foot. Indeed, the surface was no longer solid. It felt hollow beneath his step. This truly was the entrance to the abyss. The pure-hearted youth and the others widened their eyes in astonishment as they witnessed half of Lu Yu's foot vanish from sight. "Big brother, what is happening? A hidden dungeon?" "Indeed, a hidden dungeon, in hell mode. Wow, let us try it together." "You wait here," Lu Yu said, firmly pushing the pure-hearted youth aside. Then beckoned to Ru Meng Jiangnan. "Ru Meng, come and see if you can enter. Is there a possibility I cannot enter?" Ru Meng Jiangnan approached, taking the eye of the abyss from Lu Yu's hand. Mimicking his earlier actions, she carefully probed the ground with her toes, only to find that once her foot touched the surface, she could descend no further. Ru Meng Jiangnan cannot enter? Boss, why don't I feel anything?" "What should you feel? Can you sense the void beneath your feet?" Ru Meng Jiangnan shook her head, taking a few steps forward to indicate she felt nothing unusual. Sighing, Lu Yu lamented that he had initially hoped to bring Ru Meng Jiangnan along for a better chance of survival. Now, the plan had fallen through. Although the Saint Hand profession was powerful, it was not suited for the abyss and would not be accepted. "Big brother, I want to try too." The pure-hearted youth was already impatient. "You don't need to," Lu Yu replied tersely, feeling somewhat disheartened that Ru Meng Jiangnan could not enter. With 3 eyes of the abyss, only 2 individuals could proceed, leaving him with a sense of loss. His gaze instinctively drifted to the last 2, Huan and Tianxia. This fellow was a natural top-tier expert. Bringing him along would significantly bolster their combat strength. Tianxia, come over and see if you can enter. All right. Huan and Tianxia had been eagerly waiting at the side. However, due to Lu Yu's previous admonishment, he had tempered his demeanor around him. Upon hearing Lu Yu call him over, Huan promptly jogged toward him, eagerly accepting the abyssal eye from Lu Yu's hand. In a bid to demonstrate his masculinity, Huan boldly stepped forward without the cautious approach characteristic of Ru Mengjiang Nan. WOC. A gasp escaped his lips as he plummeted into the abyss. Internally, Lu Yu seethed. What the hell are you trying to prove? Testing the waters could lead to your demise. Lu Yu had never ventured into the abyss in such a reckless manner. He swiftly turned to Wang Dachui and inquired, is there any danger in entering the abyss this way? After a moment's hesitation, Wang Dachui replied, it should be fine, as long as he keeps a firm grip on the abyssal eye. However, where he will emerge within the dwarven realm is uncertain. Lu Yu opened his friend list and located Huan. His avatar was lit, indicating he was still alive. Lu Yu quickly sent a message. Hold tightly to that stone and do not let go. Find the nearest exit to leave. I repeat, do not let go. A system notification appeared. Your friend, Huan, is currently in an abnormal location and cannot receive messages. Lu Yu's frustration boiled over. Damn it. If I had known, I wouldn't have given him the abyssal eye. What were you thinking, charging in like that? A mix of anger, resentment, and helplessness coursed through Lu Yu. He took a deep breath, attempting to calm his tumultuous emotions. Huan, you cannot just die on me like this. Brother, has that dim-witted fellow already entered the dungeon? I suppose so. Lu Yu summoned Wang Dachui back into the summoning space and said to Ru Mengjiang Nan, if you cannot enter the abyss, just return to the city. Okay, boss. Coincidentally, Brother Bald Chong is organizing a boss fight and wants me to join. Bald Chong. Lu Yu pondered for a moment before associating the name with the untroubled demeanor of the character. His bald head was indeed a distinguishing feature. Ru Mengjiang Nan tore the map and vanished from sight. Brother, it seems we are finally alone now. Enough of that, Lu Yu replied. He retrieved 2 more abyssal eyes from his bag, holding one for himself and offering the other to the pure-hearted youth. One hand must grip the abyssal eye, while the other holds mine. Don't get lost. The pure-hearted youth grasped Lu Yu's hand firmly, blinking and nodding earnestly. Though no words were exchanged, Lu Yu couldn't help but conjure an understanding of her thoughts. Never mind. Lu Yu inhaled deeply, taking the pure-hearted youth by the hand as they stepped into the abyss together. Darkness enveloped Lu Yu, and he descended rapidly, engulfed in a void. This emptiness, even for someone like Lu Yu, who had faced death once, sent shivers through his very soul. Brother, where are you? I'm feeling a bit frightened. The trembling voice of an innocent youth echoed from an unknown source. Gradually, Lu Yu began to perceive the delicate touch of skin. He hastily gripped the innocent youth's hand more firmly and spoke in as steady a tone as he could muster. It's all right. Hold on to me tightly. Don't let go. Gradually, their descent began to slow until their feet met solid ground. However, the sensation of stability did little to instill a sense of security. In that place, they felt utterly devoid of spatial orientation, yet were acutely aware of the surrounding, palpable intent to kill. Had it not been for the abyssal eye they held, they would likely have been torn to shreds in an instant. He couldn't help but wonder about the outside world. His own headlight was still illuminated, suggesting all was well. Suddenly, the abyssal eye emitted a peculiar glow. This light was unique, concentrated solely within the abyssal eye, not radiating outward. Lu Yu attempted to use the illumination to survey his surroundings, but realized he couldn't even discern the hand gripping the abyssal eye. It felt as though the abyssal eye existed in a different dimension from this void. Soon, the glow from the abyssal eye began to stretch into the distance, like chalk drawing a straight line on a blackboard. At the end of this line appeared a door. This was the true function of the abyssal eye. At that moment, the abyssal eye in the innocent youth's hand also emitted a beam, with both rays converging at the exit. That location should lead to the dwarven race. Let us go? Lu Yu urged the innocent youth as he guided him toward the exit. The line appeared short. Yet the two of them walked for what felt like an eternity without drawing closer. Just as Lu Yu began to feel impatient, his next step brought him face to face with the door. Brother, how marvelous. Do you know what is happening? Are you familiar with quantum mechanics? I know a little. It should be something along those lines. Oh, I see now. What do you understand? Chapter 192. Scavenger City. Lu Yu pondered where this door would lead them in the dwarven realm. Based on Wang Dachui's experiences, they should emerge near the true Wanjin Mountain. No, that's not right. Lu Yu shook his head. Wang Dachui entered the human realm via the dwarven evil map, landing in the projection area of Wanjin Mountain. Therefore, if we enter through the dwarven evil map of the human realm, we should arrive at a corresponding projection area of the human realm. Yet, the exact location remains uncertain. Let us go. We should exit now. Until that moment, Lu Yu had not dared to release his grip on the innocent youth's hand. Together, they stepped out of the abyss. A blinding white light enveloped them, rendering their eyes unable to open. When the brilliance subsided, the two finally returned to the realm of reality. Lu Yu once again opened the dialogue box of Huan, only to find that the other party remained unreachable. He sighed internally, hoping that his point of arrival was somewhat closer to his desired destination. The pure-hearted youth exhaled. as the overwhelming sense of void he had experienced in the abyss almost drove him to the brink of madness. Were it not for Lu Yu's steadfast presence by his side, he felt he might have lost his sanity. Now, stepping back into the realm of the living bestowed upon him a sensation akin to resurrection. Lu Yu also set aside his mental burdens, beginning to survey his surroundings. They were situated within the territory of the dwarves, who had long claimed to be a neutral race. However, their actions regarding human affairs belied this assertion of neutrality. Lu Yu dared not be complacent. He and the pure-hearted youth were, in this context, regarded as outsiders. Previously, he had never traversed the boundaries of race, only aware that death among the alien races would return him to the fountain of his own kind. Beyond that, the nature of any potential penalties remained a mystery to him. This area appeared to be near a small town, albeit one that exuded an aura of desolation. A gust of wind swept through, sending a flurry of fallen leaves and debris into disarray. Not far off, he could discern a crumbling city wall, largely collapsed, with stones overrun by weeds, giving the impression of a long-abandoned site. Were it not for the sight of people moving within, Lu Yu might have deemed it a ghost town. Brother, there are people at the city gate. The pure-hearted youth, having regained his composure, immediately spotted the soldiers guarding the entrance. Despite the dilapidated state of the walls, sentinels stood watch at the gate. The individuals the youth referred to were indeed human. This place was but a reflection of the human city. Let us proceed and take a closer look, Lu Yu suggested. Since there were humans, even if merely a projection, communication was feasible. He needed to ascertain their precise location. Approaching the city gate, they noticed 3 prominent characters inscribed above, Scavenger City. These characters bore the weight of countless ages, appearing particularly weathered. The final character had been nearly worn smooth, and Lu Yu could only barely deduce its meaning from the radicals. Upon glancing at the names of the 2 guards, he was taken aback to find their names displayed in a friendly green hue. This indicated that he and the pure-hearted youth were perceived as part of the benevolent faction in the eyes of the sentinels. The 2 guards, upon noticing Lu Yu and his companion, promptly saluted, exclaiming, "Greetings, esteemed sirs." Lu Yu was momentarily taken aback. How had he suddenly become sir? In Lingfeng City, had he not donned his golden mask to avoid the guard's scrutiny, he would have already been apprehended. Yet here, in the realm of the other races, he had inexplicably attained the status of a dignitary. He casually opened a panel belonging to one of the guards, noting that both sentinels were level 30. Slightly above the average level of human players at present. The attributes are rather ordinary, essentially reflecting the capabilities of a level 30 character in their unadorned state. It is no wonder that the various factions in the Abyss unanimously regard humanity as the weakest race among them. Observing the projection of humanity here reveals much about their current state. Indeed, this serves as a poignant depiction of humanity's present reality. At this juncture, most human players possess attributes akin to those of this guard. Although Lu Yu has managed to breach the blockade of the novice village, humanity remains the last to engage with the Abyss, still in a developmental phase. However, Lu Yu holds firm in his belief that, with the passage of time, humanity's evolution will surpass all expectations of the other races. My lords, do you wish to enter the city? The guard inquired, noticing Lu Yu's prolonged silence. Yes. We wish to take a look around, Lu Yu replied. My lord, the regulations of Scavenger City dictate that any first-time visitors must first undertake the repair of 1 meter of the city wall before entering. Repair 1 meter of the city wall? The innocent youth questioned. Isn't this a human city? Why must we repair the wall to gain entry? In response to your inquiries, my lords, it is precisely because this is a human stronghold that repairs are necessary. Scavenger City has long been embroiled in conflict with the dwarves, and our fortifications are under immense strain. Without these walls to withstand their assaults, we would be unable to fend off the dwarven incursions. Thus, it is a time-honored tradition that newcomers must contribute to the maintenance of the city walls. Those who have resided in Scavenger City for years are required to participate in monthly wall repair duties. Failure to comply results in expulsion from the city to fend for oneself. The guard spoke with a dignified demeanor, embodying a sense of righteous duty. The innocent youth fell silent, while Lu Yu nodded in admiration at the inhabitants of Scavenger City. Yet, he lacked the skills to repair the wall and did not possess the luxury of time to do so. Are there alternative means of entry? He inquired. The guard pondered briefly before responding. If you are eager to enter the city, you may exchange valuable items in lieu of repairing the wall. However, these items must be of use to us in Scavenger City. Items of use to Scavenger City? Lu Yu glanced at the guards, noting their tattered weapons and simple garments. He then retrieved a piece of blue steel from his backpack. After a cacophony of clanging sounds, he produced a dozen level 30 bronze weapons. I see your equipment is quite antiquated. I shall offer these weapons in exchange for entry, which will also enhance your combat effectiveness against the dwarves. The guard's eyes brightened at the sight of the equipment. Thank you, my lord. Chapter 193. The mission of the Martial Sovereign bronze weapons are considered standard gear for players at this stage. However, for the guards of Scavenger City, who possess little to no equipment, this is a boon akin to a lifeline. My lord, please enter, the guard gestured, allowing Lu Yu and his companion passage into Scavenger City. In fact, just moments ago, Lu Yu could have easily entered the city through the collapsed wall. Even if he had chosen to storm through the city gate, no one would have been able to impede his progress. However, as a fellow human, Lu Yu was reluctant to take such an approach. The inhabitants of Scavenger City were considered mere monsters by the dwarfs, yet to Lu Yu, they were his kin. Even though they were mere projections, he was disinclined to act against his conscience. Moreover, despite the harsh conditions they faced, they had managed to establish a city to confront the dwarves. This indomitable spirit deeply moved Lu Yu. Thus, even though he knew that the guards' equipment would soon be overwhelmed by the dwarves, he chose to gift them a dozen bronze artifacts. Brother, what kind of instance is this? I just heard the guards mention a battle against the dwarves. Is our mission to assist the human race in fighting the dwarves? Not exactly. Lu Yu sighed softly, harboring a hidden desire to engage the dwarves himself. Yet, he recognized that the moment was not ripe. His heart genuinely wished for the humans to forge an alliance with the dwarves. This race excelled in the crafting of various devices, and it seemed wiser to ally rather than offend. Of course, should he grow sufficiently powerful, subjugating them entirely would also be a possibility. Let us proceed to the Lord's mansion. This is not human territory, Lu Yu noted. According to his system map, the area appeared shrouded in darkness, revealing only a fragment of information about the paths he had traversed. His destination was the pinnacle of the dwarven realm, the mountain of the crafting god. However, to reach it, he first needed to obtain a map. Scavenger City was in even greater disrepair, with debris scattered everywhere. Broken bricks and crumbling walls were the norm. And as far as the eye could see, there were scarcely any intact structures. Many inhabitants resided in makeshift shelters cobbled together from a few wooden planks, barely offering any refuge from the elements. Lu Yu could easily discern the nearly dilapidated Lord's mansion, where only a singular plaque still hung firmly above the entrance. Accompanied by the naive youth, Lu Yu approached the mansion's entrance, which was devoid of guards, allowing them to enter unimpeded. Inside, they encountered a burly man with a full beard seated in the main hall. He was bare-chested, revealing his bronze skin marked with numerous scars, two of which appeared to be still healing. His beard bore the inscription, Lord Wu Zongyi of Scavenger City, a level 60 golden grade boss. Lu Yu respectfully clasped his hands together and addressed him directly. Lord Wu, we have just arrived in Scavenger City and wish to purchase a detailed map from you. Wu Zongyi raised his head, scrutinizing Lu Yu and his companion. You hail from the human race. Lu Yu nodded earnestly, surprised that this lord had awareness of such matters. Instead of addressing the map, Wu Zongyi inquired, is the human race prepared for the impending abyss? We are making every effort, Lu Yu replied. Alas, I am but a mere projection, and my concerns here are in vain. Wu Zongyi sighed deeply. However, the fact that I can see you now indicates that humanity has gained some understanding of the abyss. Lu Yu refrained from responding, knowing that such knowledge was confined to a select few at the upper echelons of the government and individuals like Du Guohua. Observing Lu Yu's silence, Wu Zongyi picked up a piece of parchment from the table. This is a map, detailing the surroundings of Scavenger City and the general distribution of the dwarven clans. Just as Lu Yu reached for it, Wu Zongyi pressed down on the map. Although you are indeed true humans, this map represents countless efforts of mine and cannot be given away lightly. I perceive that both of you possess considerable strength, and thus, I would like to request your assistance with a certain task. Lu Yu awaited Wu Zongyi to elaborate. My scouts have informed me that a faction of the dwarves intends to raid Scavenger City tomorrow. I need you to delay them for 2 days. You must have noticed that several sections of the city walls remain unrepaired. Without proper fortifications, we cannot hope to fend off the dwarves. I understand that, as true humans, directly slaying the dwarves would undoubtedly declare war between our races. Therefore, I only require you to devise a means to stall them, allowing me time to gather forces and restore the walls. Wu Zongyi's assertion held merit. Lu Yu could not engage the dwarves directly. Should he take their lives, it would irrevocably alienate this neutral race from humanity. Furthermore, any other neutral factions hearing of such an event would surely diminish their goodwill towards humans, leading to enmity. If that were to occur, humanity would find itself at odds with all the denizens of the abyss before even entering it. This was not the outcome Lu Yu desired. Nevertheless, he shook his head at Wu Zongyi's request. Wu Zongyi's anger flared, and he slammed a hand on the table, exclaiming, we, as projections, are striving to assist humanity in suppressing the power of other races, yet you, a true human, would disregard us? Lu Yu pressed his hands down to calm the situation. Mayor Wu, please remain composed. I merely disagree with your previous proposal. What do you mean? Wu Zongyi queried. I believe that rather than merely delaying the dwarves, it would be more effective for me to eliminate them directly. Eliminate them? Do you wish to provoke war between the two races? Lu Yu summoned several green-hatted goblins. As you can see, Mayor Wu, I am a summoner. I can command my summoned beasts to deal with them. Wu Zongyi's expression softened, but he quickly shook his head. No. Your summoned creatures killing them would still leave a battle record, revealing who commanded them, and the blame would shift back to humanity. Lu Yu smiled slightly. Rest assured, Mayor Wu, I will not push humanity into the fire. However, about that map. Lu Yu cast his gaze upon the map on Wu Zongyi's desk. Knowing that acquiring the map was essential to locate the god of Craftsman Mountain, Wu Zongyi tightened his grip on the map. declaring that if Lu Yu could accomplish the task he had just mentioned, he would bestow the map upon them. The system prompted, Wu Zongyi has assigned you a quest. Prevent the Hammer Gang from pillaging the Scavenger City. Quest rewards, simplified map of the Dwarven clan. Failure penalty, -50 favorability with Wu Zongyi. Do you accept? Yes. Lu Yu unhesitatingly accepted the quest. Chapter 194. Swift resolution. Lu Yu and the naive youth exited the Lord's Manor. The naive youth then inquired, Brother, once we obtain the map, where are we headed? To the God of Craftsman Mountain, one of the highest peaks of the Dwarven clan. Isn't this the Dwarven territory? Can't we simply ask them directly? Lu Yu found himself at a loss for words, unsure how to explain. The naive youth perceived the situation as a mere game, viewing the dwarves as NPCs, thus believing it was reasonable to inquire openly. However, Lu Yu and the naive youth should not currently be within the Dwarven territory, with the abyss not yet fully descended. The racial barriers remained intact. At such a time, regardless of neutrality, entering another race's domain would certainly provoke hostility, even in peacetime. Those who stealthily infiltrated one's homeland could be met with lethal force. Moreover, this was a tense prelude to an impending multiracial war. The Dwarven clan's neutral stance would only be declared after the racial barriers dissolved. Presently, the Dwarven clan's attitude towards humanity was far from clear. After a moment of contemplation, Lu Yu remarked, the God of Craftsman Mountain holds a status for the Dwarven clan akin to that of a capital. Do you think it wise for two individuals of a different race to sneak into their domain to inquire about the location of their capital? Oh. The naive youth scratched his head and sighed softly. It turns out the spy is actually me. With a swift motion, Lu Yu slapped the back of the naive youth's head, exclaiming, Spy? We are striving for the rise of humanity. At the very least, we can be considered underground operatives. The naive youth covered his head, saying, Brother, hitting the head will make one foolish. If you wish to strike me, you can aim for my backside. As he spoke, he turned away and wiggled his hips playfully in Lu Yu's direction. Lu Yu retorted, I know you're proud of your physique, but let us focus on dealing with that Hammer Gang member first. Following the quest's objectives, the two soon arrived at the Dwarven settlement known as the Hammer Tribe. This place resembled a gathering of alliances, lacking official authority, yet capable of providing basic services. The Hammer Tribe was indeed established by the Hammer Gang, and at this moment, the settlement housed around 400 to 500 dwarves, all members of the Hammer Gang. Lu Yu glanced over, noting that most were above level 60, with only a few occasionally below, yet still above level 55. It posed a challenge, but nothing insurmountable. He retrieved the golden mask and instructed the innocent youth, when the time comes to act, you shall observe from the sidelines and refrain from intervening. Why? If you intervene, the dwarves will discern that it is the humans behind this. Lu Yu's words trailed off abruptly as a sudden realization struck him. He recalled their first encounter at the general's tomb, where this young girl could conceal her name even from the system prompts. The likelihood of her being discovered was considerably less than his own. Feeling somewhat embarrassed, Lu Yu decided to dismiss his previous statement. Forget what I just said. You may act as you wish, provided you do not slay the one adorned with the mask. Understood, big brother. But why not harm the masked one? Because the masked individual is me, and when I don the mask, you will not recognize your big brother. Just obey. There is no need for so many questions. At your command, big brother. Lu Yu sent a team request to the innocent youth, adjusting the experience distribution to a ratio of 1:9. Lu Yu receiving 1, while the innocent youth received 9, although allowing the little one to act freely. A rogue under level 40 would find it exceedingly difficult to contend against dwarves averaging over level 60. Thus, it was prudent to allocate her a greater share of experience. Now let us commence. As Lu Yu donned the mask, he suddenly heard the innocent youth exclaim, Who are you? Where's my big brother? The golden mask's effects remained as effective as ever. What did your big brother tell you? Do not strike the masked individual. And what else? Let us get started. Then why are you still hesitating? Oh right. In an instant, the innocent youth vanished from sight, demonstrating remarkable speed. Lu Yu did not linger either. He summoned the Goblin Cavalry, the elite guards of the Legion commander. Though only 100 in number, they were highly effective for leading the charge. Within the Dwarven tribe, a dwarf laboring at the forge suddenly let out a piercing scream. Yet, before the other dwarves could discern who was injured, the thunderous sound of hooves approached from outside the tribe. What is that noise? It seems to be war horses. Look over there. It is the Goblin Cavalry. How did Goblin Cavalry appear here? Do you still have time to ponder why? If you wish to avoid a free trip back to the city, prepare for battle quickly. The Goblin Cavalry's charge arrived in the blink of an eye. Lu Yu commanded them not to seek kills, but to scatter the dwarves, preventing them from congregating for an effective counterattack. Thus, the Goblin Cavalry surged forward, relentlessly trampling the dwarves with their steeds. Given that dwarves stood only about a meter tall, they had no means to defend against the iron hooves of the war horses. In an instant, 500 dwarves were scattered by the cavalry's charge. The Goblin Yellow Turban army surged into the tribe amidst the chaos. With no mercy for the panicked dwarves, they raised their scythes and struck mercilessly. A dwarf, resembling a leader, climbed to a higher ground and shouted, Do not panic. Do not panic. Everyone, heed my command. Arm yourselves. Before he could finish, a dagger pierced his chest from the front, Captain Jun had already led the green-hatted goblins into a frenzy of slaughter. All the dwarves who retained their sanity became targets for the green-hatted goblins. The once promising tribe was utterly shattered in a mere moment. Within just a few minutes, not a single dwarf among the 500 survived. The Hammer tribe was reduced to ruins. Not a single goblin perished, and their vitality remained robust. Once Lu Yu confirmed that there were no more living dwarves around, he removed the golden mask, reverting to his true identity as Qingjiu. Big brother? The innocent youth's figure suddenly appeared before Lu Yu. Where did you go just now? I saw a masked person summoning a horde of goblins. WOC. It couldn't be you. Could it? Lu Yu nodded expressionlessly. WOC. Why didn't I recognize you earlier? Lu Yu displayed the attributes of the golden mask to the innocent youth, who then revealed a look of understanding. Big brother, I see now the characteristics of this mask. I won't fail to recognize you next time. No, you still will. Chapter 195. Signal lost under Captain Jun's command. The Goblin Yellow Turban Army and the Green-Hatted Goblins swiftly scoured the battlefield. According to Lu Yu, it wouldn't be long before the dwarves they had just slain would return for vengeance. They needed to collect all the equipment dropped by those dwarves. It turned out that Lu Yu's drop rate was nearly zero when killing projections, but it was quite substantial against actual foes. Essentially, each dwarf slain yielded Lu Yu 12 pieces of equipment. Once the battlefield was cleared, over 700 pieces of gear filled Lu Yu's backpack. One must admit, the dwarves were indeed renowned as master craftsmen. Most of the gear was of level 50 to 60, with even a dozen pieces being diamond grade. Unfortunately, the levels were too high, and lacking the proficiency effect, Lu Yu could not utilize them. The average level of human players was around 30, with black iron and bronze gear being the mainstream equipment. By the time they reached level 60, these items would be perfect for trade. However, Lu Yu had no intention of selling them, based on his past life experience. The mainstream equipment for humans at level 60 consisted of silver gear and a small portion of gold gear. In this era, the plight of humanity has significantly improved, yet the quality of equipment will only ascend to a higher tier. These level 60 dark gold items will still be considered premium. When these are distributed as rewards to the members of the Abyssal Lords Guild, it will surely bring them immense satisfaction. Contemplating this, Lu Yu prepared to deposit the equipment into the guild's warehouse. However, upon accessing the guild interface, he discovered that the usually bustling group chat was eerily silent. This is unusual. Lu Yu attempted to send a message to Zhuzi, only to be met with a system prompt. Messages cannot be sent in the current range. He then sent an emoticon to Chuqing Xiaoyan, which similarly failed to deliver. Looking towards Chuqing Xiaoyan, he noticed she too wore a puzzled expression. Clearly, she had also recognized the issue. Could it be that the racial barrier had not been lifted, rendering communication impossible with other races? How could the illustrious Abyss still have such a racial barrier? The bad news, chat functionality is disabled. The good news, the reason for the inability to contact Hua and has been uncovered. He likely did not perish within the Abyss, but has long since entered the Dwarven domain. However, his current whereabouts remain a mystery. As long as he has escaped the Abyss, it is reassuring to know that he is tenacious and unlikely to meet his demise easily anywhere. Lu Yu felt a sense of relief and redirected his focus back to the spoils of war. In addition to the equipment, the dwarves from earlier had dropped a substantial amount of gold coins. Lu Yu could hardly fathom the wealth these dwarves possessed. 500 dwarves had yielded a remarkable 50,000 gold coins, averaging 100 coins per individual. According to the rules of the Abyss, upon a player's demise, the amount of gold dropped cannot exceed 5 times the gold they possessed. This implies that each dwarf must have carried an average of 2,000 gold coins. To Lu Yu, 2,000 gold coins did not seem an exorbitant sum, as he had slain far more monsters than the average player, coupled with his hidden luck bonuses. However, for a typical player, 2,000 gold coins would undoubtedly be a fortune. He quietly pocketed all the gold coins. Since his visit to Sun Hanyu's home, Lu Yu had come to deeply appreciate the significance of gold. Without it, one could not even gain entry. The experience points had largely been allocated to Chuqing Xiaoyan, so it seemed quite reasonable for him to keep some gold for himself. Lu Yu felt quite satisfied with his distribution. Brother, have we completed our task? He mused. I feel we should return to that city lord to collect the map. Lu Yu shook his head. The task has not yet indicated completion. They will return. The requirements set forth by Wuzong Yi were to prevent the Iron Hammer Guild from ravaging the Scavenger City. Although Lu Yu had let the goblins dispatch the dwarves of the Iron Hammer Guild, he refrained from capturing them to avoid detection. The 500 dwarves have merely returned to the spring. They will undoubtedly seek vengeance, and will likely soon return. They might even be on their way as we speak. Brother, what shall we do? Should we slay them several more times until they dare not return? Lu Yu shook his head. A horde of goblins rampaging on the dwarves' territory, hoping to instill such fear that the dwarves would not dare to emerge. Do they truly believe the dwarves are so easily intimidated? Not even a mere 10,000 goblin warriors, let alone if a goblin general were to lead an army, could compel these hot-tempered beings to submit. So, what should we do? Should we abandon the mission and turn back to eliminate that Wuzong Yi? We could still obtain the map that way. Lu Yu cast a silent glance at the innocent youth. Surprisingly, he had indeed contemplated this course of action, but ultimately dismissed it. It was not that he could not defeat Wu Zhongyi and the 30-level guards of Scavenger City. On the contrary, he could dispatch them with ease. However, upon witnessing the human projections fighting so valiantly against the alien races, he could not help but recall his past life. In those times, humanity also battled desperately under exceedingly harsh conditions to defend their territory. Lu Yu could not bring himself to raise the slaughtering blade against his own kin. Even if they were merely projections, there were solutions available, albeit requiring sacrifice. What sacrifice? Brother, it wouldn't be me, would it? Seduction? Lu Yu pondered the absurdity of the girl's thoughts. Master, the scouts report that the Iron Hammer Gang has returned, and this time, their numbers have swelled to over 1,000. Captain Jun informed Lu Yu. Lu Yu nodded and summoned 2 goblin battalions, along with your green-hatted goblins, and Vice Captain Jia's goblin yellow turbans, as well as the goblin cavalry. All will be under your command. I have but one request. Eliminate those dwarfs swiftly and decisively. Understood. Innocent One, I have a task for you. Brother, speak. Determine the location of the dwarves' recent main city. They arrived so quickly. The resurrection spring must be nearby. Additionally, ascertain the approximate population and number of guards in that main city. All right, brother. The innocent youth vanished from sight. Lu Yu donned his mask once more. If he were to engage with the dwarves, the mask was essential. He had resolved that the mission was to thwart the Iron Hammer Gang's rampage in Scavenger City. Directly confronting them would serve as a deterrent, while indirectly shifting the Iron Hammer Gang's focus would also suffice. As long as they refrained from targeting Scavenger City in the short term, the mission would be deemed complete. And as for how to dissuade them from attacking Scavenger City? That is simple. If we steal from their home, they will have little inclination to pursue Scavenger City. Chapter 196. Firearms Commander Jun was now filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. He had finally ascended to the esteemed position of commander and had the authority to direct the actions of the goblin warriors. He vowed to fulfill Lu Yu's entrusted mission in the most impeccable manner. To this end, he dispatched his personal guards to scout the movements of the dwarves. Soon, he received news that some dwarves possessed a peculiar weapon resembling a tube, complete with a trigger mechanism. A tube? What could that possibly be? Commander Jun was acutely aware of the dwarves' reputation as master craftsmen. Anything they wielded warranted respect, especially as this was his first opportunity to demonstrate his capabilities before Lu Yu, necessitating utmost caution. Before long, another guard returned with a report. Perhaps emboldened by these tubes, the dwarves had neglected to form any coherent ranks and instead charged forward recklessly. This revelation heightened Commander Jun's apprehension. After much deliberation, he ultimately chose to inform Lu Yu. In the past, he might have attempted a clever ruse, sending cavalry to probe the dwarves. Given the mobility of the cavalry, he believed they would sustain little loss against the short-legged dwarves. However, his greater concern now was the potential consequences of his decision on Lu Yu's safety, which could lead to dire repercussions. Upon hearing the green-capped goblin's description, Lu Yu was momentarily taken aback before quickly grasping the situation. A tube with a trigger, was this not a firearm? He was astonished that the dwarves had developed guns so swiftly in this era. Firearms posed a significant threat to cavalry units. Lu Yu recalled that previously, humans had purchased firearms from the dwarves to combat the formidable undead cavalry, which had a crucial attribute, a 100 increase in damage to cavalry units. Urgently, Lu Yu inquired, what is the name of that weapon, and how many dwarves are armed with it? The response revealed that approximately 100 dwarves were equipped with firearms. Lu Yu exhaled in relief. While 100 was not an insignificant number, it was manageable. Clearly, even if the dwarves had created firearms, they had yet to achieve mass production. Lu Yu promptly explained the function and power of firearms to Commander Jun and instructed him to proceed with commanding the battle. Lu Yu was eager to assess the capabilities of this commander. Meanwhile, in the Iron Hammer Gang, Chief Song Iron Hammer was seething with anger. His gang was a notable presence in the region, as evidenced by their territorial claims. He had initially planned to take a brief respite within their domain before launching an assault on the human Scavenger City. Despite the humans' low levels and meager loot rates, he was determined to press forward. However, vanquishing them could yield a substantial amount of experience. The experience gained from a level 30 humanoid common beast is equivalent to that of an elite creature of level 60 or 70. How could this not entice the dwarves? Particularly the Lord, Wu Zhongyi, who, despite being merely a level 60 boss, has yet to be defeated. A legend has emerged among the dwarven kin, asserting that the final piece of the deer hunt token for this secondary stronghold lies with that very boss. The deer hunt token serves as a key to unlock a territory, a coveted prize for guilds vying for dominion over land. A secondary stronghold may possess a maximum of 5 such territories. Thus, it can hold up to 5 deer hunt tokens. The first 4 have already been discovered, and the ownership of those territories has been duly established. Only the final deer hunt token remains elusive. Song Tietue's impending foray into the Scavenger City is not solely for the purpose of accruing experience. More importantly, he aims to conquer that Lord Boss. He is imbued with confidence regarding this endeavor, for a member of their guild inadvertently crafted a weapon known as a gun. Although this weapon boasts a slow rate of fire, its damage output is considerable, complemented by a significant armor-piercing effect. It is ideally suited for combating heavily armored units like Wu Zongyi. To this end, he has commissioned the gathering of materials to forge additional guns for their upcoming battle. Yet, who could have anticipated that before they could embark on their quest, a horde of goblins would emerge from the shadows? In a mere matter of minutes, they breached their territory. Particularly, the cavalry, upon storming the camp, wreaked havoc among their ranks, leaving them unable to mount any organized resistance. This infuriated Song Tietue. He promptly summoned all guild members, arming them with the newly crafted guns, preparing to retaliate. Setting aside the weapon's efficacy against heavily armored units, he was eager to test its potency against the goblin cavalry. From the battle records, he deduced that the number of goblins did not exceed 500, and their commander was a creature known as Gray and White Willow. Although he was unaware of the identity of this Gray and White Willow and could not ascertain their race, it was evident that such a commanding presence over numerous goblins must also be a goblin. 500 goblins daring to wreak havoc on dwarven soil were utterly presumptuous. He had no intention of reporting this incident to superiors. He yearned for personal vengeance, determined to capture the commander alive and interrogate them on how they infiltrated dwarven lands. With 1,000 against 500 and a minor level disparity, coupled with the advantage of guns, confidence surged within Song Tietue. Soon, an assassin from his guild returned with news that the goblin cavalry awaited them, poised for confrontation. Excellent. Song Tietue immediately commanded the guild members armed with guns to advance, ensuring their ammunition was ready for firing at a moment's notice. Then others followed closely behind the firearms battalion, advancing towards the goblin cavalry. In the sky, the silhouette of a giant bird soared by. Lu Yu, utilizing the keen vision of the black-headed eagle, surveyed the battlefield from above. Upon observing Song Tietue positioning the firearms team at the forefront, a large question mark emerged above his head. Instinctively, he wondered if this was perhaps a trap. The black-headed eagle scrutinized the surroundings once more. Apart from the Iron Hammer gang, no other dwarves were in sight. The creature even detected hidden dwarves through its skills, yet found no signs of an ambush. Gradually, Liu began to piece things together. The firearms had only recently been developed. Although these dwarves were aware of their power, they evidently lacked the corresponding formations. However, Song Tietue truly seemed to be of a dull disposition. Firearms are ranged weapons, and it is illogical to place ranged classes at the front lines. Yet, the more foolish the enemy, the better. Commander Jin should seize this opportunity. Chapter 197. A one-sided affair. Upon receiving the report from the green-hatted goblin, Commander Jin was momentarily taken aback. A trap? Yet. He had already dispatched scouts to explore the surrounding area. Not even a shadow of a wild creature could be found, let alone other dwarven clans. This left only one possibility. The opposing commander was inept in utilizing these firearms. So what was there to wait for? The 100 firearms in the front were nothing but live targets. Commander Jun immediately commanded the green-hatted goblin to enter stealth mode and approach the enemy's frontline firearms. The goblin cavalry prepared to charge, with Deputy Commander Jia leading the goblin yellow scarf troops closely behind the cavalry. Once the cavalry disrupted their formation, the goblin yellow scarf troops would swiftly engage in harvesting. 2,000 goblin warriors aimed to encircle the enemy in the shortest time possible, surrounding them tenfold. It would not require such a ratio to encircle these dwarves. Lu Yu observed Commander Jun's deployment and nodded in approval. Besides the order to encircle, there was nothing fundamentally amiss. Encircling 2,000 troops with 1,000 was indeed challenging, especially in this open plain without cover. Perhaps such encirclement could be realized once the cavalry disrupted the enemy. However, for players, being surrounded posed little threat. The essence of encirclement is to leave the enemy with no means of escape, leading to their annihilation. Yet these dwarves possessed return scrolls, allowing them to teleport back even if surrounded. This, however, was not a fault of Commander Jun. As a projection, he lacked a robust concept of return scrolls. Thus, his command to encircle was understandable. Lu Yu did not intervene but allowed Commander Jun to continue directing the battle. The Iron Hammer gang was drawing ever closer to the Goblin Legion, with both sides clearly able to see each other's formations. When Song Tietue beheld the goblin leader, his countenance shifted markedly. What astonished him was not the presence of Captain Jun himself, but rather the 2,000 goblin warriors that trailed behind him. Had there not only been 500 goblins moments ago? How could such a multitude have suddenly emerged? Although the newly arrived goblins were not as formidable as the initial 500, their sheer numbers, at least double his own forces, rendered them a significant threat. Hastily, Song Tietue commanded his subordinates to halt their advance. Yet, before the order could be relayed, the foremost ranks of musketeers were abruptly besieged, with damage numbers appearing above their heads in rapid succession. In the blink of an eye, they were left severely weakened. Several, with dwindling health, were felled instantly. The green-hatted goblins brandished their daggers, appearing behind the dwarven musketeers, while simultaneously, the goblin cavalry charged forward. In such close quarters, bolstered by their charge skill, 200 goblin cavalrymen swiftly infiltrated the ranks of the Hammer Gang. The relentless pounding of iron hooves echoed as a familiar scene unfolded once more. Song Tietue's pride, the musketeers, had barely begun to engage before they were dispatched by the green-hatted goblins. The remaining dwarves, shaken by the cavalry's onslaught, plunged into disarray. Deputy Captain Jia bellowed an order, leading the goblin yellow turban army into the fray. It is well known that a scythe is meant for harvesting, whether it be crops or lives. The air was filled with the cacophony of anguished cries among the dwarves. Lu Yu smacked his lips after the abyss descended. The adjustable lower limit of pain was no longer 10, but 50. The 2,000 goblin warriors continued to encircle their prey. However, Captain Jun soon recognized the flaw in this command. Surrounding 1,000 dwarves with 2,000 goblins would take too long, and the encirclement was precariously weak, rendering it susceptible to a concentrated dwarven breakout. Moreover, he noticed some dwarves producing a scroll, which promptly transformed their forms into beams of light, vanishing from sight. He immediately commanded the cessation of the encirclement, instructing all goblin warriors to charge at the dwarves. Lu Yu nodded in satisfaction. This Captain Jun, after shedding his previous shortcomings, proved to be quite capable. What followed was a one-sided massacre. 2,000 against 1,000 was hardly a challenge, especially with the support of 3 elite squads. The outcome of this battle was decidedly predictable. Lu Yu began to focus more on the dwarven forces, observing that, despite their superior equipment and attributes compared to the goblin warriors, their execution was markedly inferior. In one-on-one confrontations, this disparity could be compensated for by their attributes. However, in this chaotic clash of thousands, the dwarves fought independently, lacking coordination. Occasionally, some dwarves would team up, yet their tactics resembled those employed against wild monsters, proving futile against the goblin warriors. The goblin warriors are not mere solitary wild creatures. They are well-trained soldiers. Their coordination is remarkably seamless, enabling them to provide swift support to one another. Although the number of goblin warriors is only double that of the dwarves when engaged in combat, a single dwarf often feels as though he is confronted by 34 goblin warriors simultaneously. This is the effect of their mutual cooperation. The Iron Hammer Gang, within this secondary main city among the dwarf players, may possess considerable strength. However, when a gang encounters a regular army, they become akin to a herd of pigs awaiting slaughter. Song Tieshua's expression turned ashen. He never anticipated that, after rallying all his gang members with a fierce determination for revenge, the outcome would be even more devastating than before. Opposing him was a goblin known as Vice Captain Jia. Yet Song Tieshua understood that this vice captain was not the leader of the goblins. Weighing his own capabilities, he considered that assembling a small team to confront Vice Captain Jia should not pose a significant challenge. However, he found himself without any other dwarves at his side. To face a level 70 dark gold grade boss alone was undoubtedly courting death. Quietly, Song Tieshua took out a return scroll. Rather than risk losing a level and having his equipment dropped, it was wiser to return to the city promptly. But just as he was about to tear the scroll, a short dagger pierced his back, a high damage number popped above his head, and his health instantly plummeted by half. Captain Jun had personally entered the fray. At that moment, he harbored a deep resentment towards the return scrolls in the hands of these dwarves. He had initially had the opportunity to annihilate all 1,000 dwarves. But because of these scrolls, over 200 had already escaped. How could he explain this to his master? Thus, upon spotting the leading figure, Song Tieshua, he stealthily approached. Having allowed so many dwarves to flee, this leader could not be permitted to escape. Vice Captain Jia joined in, wielding his weapon with a fierce wind. The 2 level 70 dark gold bosses teamed up, preventing Song Tieshua from even entering a combat state, let alone utilizing his return scroll. Moments later, Song Tieshua transformed into a beam of light, flying back to the spring. In midair, a small pile of gold coins and a blueprint fell to the ground. Chapter 198. Hatching Captain Jun approached Lu Yu and presented a blueprint before him, saying, "Master, this is the item dropped by that dwarf gang leader. It appears to be of quite high quality." Lu Yu took the blueprint, glanced at it briefly, and his eyes immediately brightened. It was the blueprint for a firearm. Gun blueprint quality, silver, gold, dark gold materials, fine steel, gold quality, 5, copper or gold quality, 5, centenary Namu wood, gold quality, 2 requirements, master armorer. Master blacksmith. To my astonishment, the blueprint for the firearm has been revealed. I recall in my previous life, human armorers tirelessly sought to replicate the dwarven firearm technology. However, the laws of the abyss diverged significantly from those of reality, and after a full year, the humans had yet to devise a method for manufacturing firearms. Ultimately, they were compelled to continue purchasing firearms from the dwarves. Lu Yu cautiously secured the firearm blueprint, though he currently lacked the materials to forge. Upon returning to the human realm, he was determined to establish a regiment of firearm wielders. This would be an invaluable asset against cavalry and heavily armored foes. The goblins swiftly cleared the battlefield. Shortly after Lu Yu stored the blueprint, over 1,000 pieces of equipment lay before him, including several firearms. Nearby, gold coins formed a small mountain, totaling a staggering 100,000 pieces. Such a fortune. Lu Yu stashed all the gold in his backpack. Yet he faced a dilemma with the abundance of equipment. His bag was nearly full, and over 1,000 pieces could not possibly fit. Discarding the gear was out of the question. After all, These level 60 fine quality items were worth far more than that 10,000 gold. For the first time, Lu Yu found himself troubled by an excessive loot. Resolving to exchange equipment, he commanded the newly acquired items to be organized by type and attributes into complete sets. He retrieved all that he had already stored in his backpack. In total, he managed to assemble 150 sets of dark gold equipment, 50 leather armor sets, and 100 plate armor sets. The remaining items were merely incomplete fragments. Lu Yu stored these scattered pieces in his backpack and then selected 150 of the highest attribute goblin warriors from the entire goblin army. He outfitted them in the dark gold sets, forming a new team. With the enhancement of their gear, this team's attributes now surpassed even those of the goblin yellow turbans. Lu Yu named this unit the Goblin Death Squad and entrusted it to Deputy Commander Jia for leadership. Since the equipment could not be reserved for later, it was best to utilize it immediately. After 2 successful annihilations of the Hammer Gang, the experience gained allowed Lu Yu to level up, and he now stood at level 41. However, when he glanced at the summoning space, he was suddenly taken aback to see a white orb of light hovering above. What is this? Lu Yu tapped on the orb to investigate, and a few glowing words caught his eye. Experience storage device. This represented his second professional talent, enabling him to temporarily store experience that would typically belong to summoned beasts. Lu Yu could freely allocate this experience to his summoned creatures. Lu Yu instinctively glanced at the Goblin General, who now stood at level 37. Should all this experience be bestowed upon him, it might suffice to elevate him 1 or 2 levels. However, it would not reach the threshold for the second transformation, rendering it rather insignificant. As for the other boss-level summoned beasts, the Skeleton General, a level 61 boss, would barely gain half a level from this meager experience. The Lord of the Abyss, at level 80, would not even cause a ripple in the experience pool. The other boss-level summoned beasts faced similar fates. Either the experience was insufficient for an upgrade, or Lu Yu deemed the upgrade unworthy. Previously, boss-level summoned beasts were a rare pinnacle of combat strength within Lu Yu's summoning space. However now, with an abundance of such beasts, they were scarcely utilized. It would be prudent to accumulate more experience before pondering its application. Just as Lu Yu was about to exit the summoning space, he suddenly noticed Sun Tianhua, soundly asleep in a corner, cradling a colossal egg in his arms. This egg had originally been a gift from Sun Tianhua. According to Sun, he had tried various methods to incubate it, all in vain. What transformations might occur if this experience were to be imparted to the egg? Contemplating this, Lu Yu attempted to allocate 1/3 of the stored experience to the giant egg. The experience transformed into radiant motes, cascading onto the egg. These motes were soon absorbed, causing the egg to emit a faint glow. Could it be? System notification. The incubation process for your summoned beast, Giant Egg, has commenced. This process cannot be interrupted. Giant Egg must complete a minimum of 1 incubation degree per day. Current incubation degree, 0.25. It truly was possible. Lu Yu felt a surge of excitement. The egg's incubation indeed relied on experience. However, was the required amount not excessively high? The experience just expended was roughly equivalent to that obtained from vanquishing 250 level 60 dwarves. In other words, to incubate this egg, he would need to eliminate at least 100,000 level 60 dwarves, an astounding tally, equivalent to 10 legions. Furthermore, the incubation process could not be interrupted. The consequences of such an interruption were painfully evident to Lu Yu. He promptly allocated the remainder of the experience to the giant egg, raising the incubation progress to 0.75. The day's incubation had not yet been completed. He would need to devise a plan for accruing experience. Suddenly, a figure materialized before Lu Yu. Who are you? Where has my elder brother gone? Lu Yu silently removed his mask, reverting to his true identity as Qing Jiao. I mentioned earlier that when I donned this again, you would still fail to recognize me. Hey, how remarkable. Brother, how did you manage that? The golden mask. Each time it is removed and replaced, a different identity emerges. I see. May I borrow it for a while? Isn't your occupational trait even more formidable than my golden mask? That is indeed a valid point. Enough of the trivialities. Do share your discoveries, one inquired. Indeed, I have, the innocent youth replied. I have just located their main city, a secondary stronghold known as Steel City. The city is modest in size, guarded by a total of 1,051 sentinels, all at level 60, accompanied by an 80-level second-tier leader and an 85-level lord. In addition to the guards, there are approximately several 100,000 dwarves, all around levels 50 to 60. With such precise intelligence, did you infiltrate their main city? Indeed. I stealthily entered and counted them one by one. However, I could not tally the dwarves. There were simply too many. Lu Yu, the Abyssal Shadow Assassin, was indeed a born scout. For ordinary assassins, penetrating the stronghold of a foreign race was nearly impossible. As long as the city remained intact, their stealth would dissipate the moment they entered. Yet, the innocent youth had meandered in effortlessly, defying all logic. Upon hearing the youth's account, Lu Yu fell into contemplation, pondering how to conquer Steel City. The 1,051 guards could be dealt with, and with the likes of the Shadow Lord and Sun Tianhua, the leader and lord would also be manageable. The real challenge lay in the hundreds of thousands of dwarf players. If an assault were to commence, these players would undoubtedly intervene. A mere 10,000 goblins against hundreds of thousands of dwarves would hardly yield favorable odds. Escape would rely solely on the dwarves' limited speed. Perhaps there exists a strategy to temporarily lure the dwarves away from Steel City, allowing the goblins to strike with swiftness and seize the city. If they succeeded in conquering this stronghold, the players present would be randomly relocated to other cities, thus preventing the Iron Hammer Guild from traversing great distances to raid Scavenger City. Liu glanced at his backpack, where a crystalline gem lay quietly in the corner. The crystal of the secret realm of steel. Those dwarves, fervently devoted to crafting equipment, would likely pursue this treasure for some time. Yet, one must not lose the child while neglecting the wolf. The crystal of the secret realm must not be discarded. It needed to be entrusted to someone capable of retreating at any moment. Turning to the innocent youth, who was still lost in mirth, Liu Yu stated, "Innocent, I have a task for you. Brother, whatever you say, I shall ensure its completion." Liu Yu produced the crystal of the secret realm and handed it to the youth. "This is the crystal of the secret realm of steel. Hold on to it and take a stroll around Steel City, attracting as many dwarves as possible. Then lead them away from the city." Brother, are you truly planning to attack Steel City?" Liu Yu nodded. The benefits of conquering Steel City extended far beyond merely completing a task. "But brother, what if I cannot escape? It is of no concern. I place my trust in you. As a summoner who has emerged from the abyss, I am capable of immense feats, and as an assassin from the same origin, it would be illogical for you to be inept, would it not? My dear friend, we are speaking of hundreds of thousands. So, will you go or not? You may indeed embark on this venture, but I have a stipulation. Speak your mind. If I manage to return alive, you must grant me one request." At that moment, Liu Yu felt a peculiar sensation, as if the young girl were raising a banner of her own. Typically, in film and dramatic narratives, characters who utter such declarations seldom survive the ordeal. "What is your request?" "I shall disclose it upon my return." "Very well." After a brief contemplation, Liu Yu acquiesced to the earnest youth. Yet he deemed the request must not be excessive. "Rest assured, my friend, it shall be entirely reasonable." The earnest youth accepted the crystal and prepared to depart. Liu Yu seized her arm, reiterating certain details, which allowed her to leave with the crystal in hand. He then stowed away all his summoned beasts, donned a golden mask, and strode confidently towards Steel City. Within Steel City, members of the Hammer Gang reconvened by the spring. Their expressions were grim, and passing dwarves cast curious glances in their direction. As one of the leading factions in Steel City, the entire gang had been slaughtered and returned twice in less than half a day. Such events naturally aroused curiosity. Numerous rival factions seized the opportunity to witness the misfortunes of Song Iron Hammer. What do you suppose has befallen the Hammer Gang today, to be vanquished twice in succession, only to regroup here again? The leader of the Hammer Gang is notoriously stingy. What could possibly be the cause of this misfortune? Song, do you believe your members are too overqualified and wish to lower their ranks for motivation? Laughter erupted around them. Song Iron Hammer's countenance turned ashen. He was a man concerned with his reputation and loath to admit that he had been annihilated by a horde of goblins on 2 occasions. Inhaling deeply, he bellowed, What do you fools know? I have discovered a goldstone boss. If we slay it, we shall unlock a goldstone secret realm. In due time, armed with the secrets of the realm, I shall monopolize its wonders, and then we shall see who has reason to laugh." "Oh dear, a goldstone boss and a goldstone secret realm. Song, are you attempting to amuse us to death? Who is unaware that such realms are naturally generated from the abyss? Do you think killing a boss will yield such rewards? Such a feeble excuse. Surely you have been made a fool of." Laughter erupted once more, not only from those who bore animosity towards the Hammer Gang, but also from passers-by, who regarded Song Iron Hammer with mockery, akin to observing a comical jester. Song Tiexin's expression grew increasingly grim. The excuses he had hastily fabricated were riddled with inconsistencies, leaving him utterly humiliated. Yet, having uttered those words, to deny them now would be tantamount to slapping himself in the face. At this point, even if it meant facing death, he would staunchly insist on the existence of the Golden Stone secret realm. "If you do not believe me, I shall inform you that we, the Iron Hammer Guild, are not the only ones battling that boss. We have even enlisted the assistance of a formidable expert who is currently engaged in combat with that very boss. We withstood the boss's devastating attack earlier, and he should have already vanquished it by now. Just wait and behold as I procure the crystallization of the Golden Stone secret realm." Seeing Song Tiexin's unwavering confidence, the onlookers began to harbor doubts in their hearts. Could it be that this fellow was speaking the truth? Even some members of the Iron Hammer Guild cautiously inquired of their companions. Did we truly go to obtain the crystallization of the Golden Stone secret realm? I'm not entirely sure. The guild leader mentioned seeking vengeance, so we followed him. I recall there were indeed several boss-level creatures among those goblins. No wonder the leader was so agitated. The murmurs among the guild members reached Song Tiexin's ears, leaving him feeling somewhat exasperated. Had this group forgotten so quickly that their pre-battle rallying cry had been about avenging themselves against the goblins? However, this was not the time for such concerns. Standing tall with a triumphant smile, Song Tiexin inspired even greater belief among others that he might not merely be spouting nonsense. Should the Iron Hammer Guild truly claim the Golden Stone secret realm, the other factions in Steel City would face the peril of being engulfed. The crowd began to buzz with excitement. Yet, Song Tiexin reveled in his own cunning. These fools were gullible enough to take his fabricated tale at face value. Just then, a brilliant light cascaded down from the city walls, a gleaming crystallization refracting the sunlight, dazzling the eyes of countless dwarfs. Someone shouted, "The crystallization of the Golden Stone's secret realm." Instantly, the crowd erupted in fervor. The youthful idealist, eager to flaunt the crystallization, shouted, "The crystallization of the Golden Stone's secret realm is here. Come and chase me if you desire it." However, to his astonishment, as he brandished the crystallization, a throng of dwarves surged towards him from every city gate. Could it be that his charm was so overwhelming? The naive youth, now daunted by the overwhelming response, leaped out of the city, clutching the crystallization of the Golden Stone's secret realm. Hundreds of thousands of dwarves poured out of every gate, pursuing him with unrelenting fervor. Having witnessed the crystallization with their own eyes, the dwarves no longer harbored doubts about Song Tiexin's words. At this moment, the crystallization had not yet fallen into the hands of the Iron Hammer Guild. Whoever possessed it would claim it as their own. Moreover, the guild that secured the crystallization would experience a significant enhancement in strength. Even if one chose not to utilize it personally, handing it over to the Divine Artisan Mountain could potentially grant the opportunity for entry into that revered place. The prospect of entering the Divine Artisan Mountain stirred the hearts of the dwarves beyond measure. Ah, but that is the Mountain of Craftsmen. Song Tiexin stood frozen in place. Just moments ago, he had casually concocted an excuse for his two recent defeats by fabricating a tale about a crystal from the Golden Stone secret realm. How could it be that, in the blink of an eye, this matter had become a verifiable truth? "Leader, should we pursue?" "Of course we must," came the emphatic response. Was there any need for such a question? Although the tale had been spun by Song Tiexin himself, the crystal was undeniably genuine. Even if his previous claims were mere fabrications, he now possessed, in some sense, the preferential right to acquire that crystal. It would be unacceptable for others to benefit from it, particularly rival factions. Moreover, the Hammer Gang possessed a distinct advantage. They had already gathered all their members. While other factions were still in the process of rallying their forces amidst the pursuit, they merely needed to focus their efforts on the chase. The recent losses had lowered the average level of the Hammer Gang by 2, making the acquisition of the crystal imperative to bridge the gap with other factions. As tens of thousands surged forth from the city, the scene was predictably chaotic. A stampede occurred at the city gates, resulting in numerous casualties as people were trampled to death, returning to the spring of revival. Yet, upon their rebirth in the spring, their first act was to rush out and seize the crystal from the Golden Stone's secret realm. Lu Yu, utilizing the vision granted by the black-headed eagle, observed the dwarves pouring out of Gold Steel City like a swarm of ants frantically escaping their nest. In less than half an hour, the once bustling city was left desolate, with only patrolling soldiers remaining. It was time for him to take action. Lacking large siege equipment, Lu Yu could not provide the guards of Gold Steel City with an opportunity for advance warning. Captain Jun had personally led a team to the city gates. Tasked with delaying the closing of the gates, Lu Yu summoned all his goblin warriors, including the elusive goblin general, who assembled in formation behind him. With a resounding blast of war horns, the goblin warriors charged toward Gold Steel City. Leading the charge were the goblin cavalry, spurring their steeds to their utmost limits as they raced toward the gates. Hot on their heels were the Goblin Death Squad and the Goblin Yellow Turbans, followed by thousands of goblin warriors. While there were no enemies within the range of the Warhorn's skill, all goblins were nonetheless affected. Under the enhancement of the skill, their attributes surged, and their speed noticeably increased. On the watchtower within Gold Steel City, a vigilant dwarf quickly spotted the throng of goblin warriors approaching. Initially intrigued by the earlier mass exodus of dwarves, he found the situation amusing. Little did he expect that now, another horde of goblins was surging toward the city. What was happening today? Were there discounts at the marketplace? Wait, no, those are goblins. The lookout dwarf suddenly snapped back to reality, an ominous feeling washing over him. He hastily rang the alarm bell in the watchtower. Clang, clang, clang. The warning echoed throughout the city of Steel Fortress, and the guards within exchanged bewildered glances. Taking a moment to comprehend the unfolding situation, enemies were invading Steel Fortress. It was no wonder the dwarves were slow to react. This was the first time the alarm had been sounded since the city's establishment. The racial barriers were not activated, and there were no marauding beasts in sight, leaving the safety of Steel Fortress unquestionable. No one anticipated that the alarm would ring out so suddenly. As realization dawned, the dwarves sprang into action. A heavily armored general flashed to the city wall, commanding the dwarven soldiers. All gate squads, close the gates immediately, and siege teams, prepare the rolling logs. Before he could finish his sentence, he abruptly vanished. The gate squad stood in shock, wondering where the general had gone in the blink of an eye. Close the gates first. A squad leader shouted, his mind clear. Captain, the mechanism on the gate is jammed. We can't reach it. If we can't reach it, why not get a ladder? Everyone run. If the enemy breaches the city, we are all doomed. The squad leader bellowed, his anxiety mounting as he observed the lackadaisical guards. The long period of complacency had eroded their readiness, and when true warfare arrived, they were unable to respond effectively. Lu Yu, following Captain Zhen's gaze, noticed the jammed gate. Wasn't that a weapon belonging to a naive youth caught in the mechanism? This young girl certainly left quite a mark before departing. She was indeed the one who nearly brought about his demise. In the watchtower, the alarm grew increasingly frantic. Of the 4 city gates, 3 had been closed, leaving only the northern gate wide open. Hurry, hurry, the squad leader shouted in desperation, for he could now clearly see the goblin cavalry approaching. If the gates were not closed soon, those iron steeds would charge into the city with reckless abandon. Finally, the ladder arrived, and a dark dagger was drawn. The gate's mechanism began to turn slowly. The squad leader breathed a sigh of relief. There was still time. However, just as he began to relax, a group of goblins wearing green hats materialized out of thin air. Captain Zhen had initially intended to sneak into the city, but the moment he approached the gate, he was forcibly ejected from his stealth state. No matter, he was undeterred by a frontal assault. The green-hatted goblins were equally fearless. With a mighty shout, Captain Zhen led his band of 200 goblin warriors into the city, charging straight for the gate mechanism. Their mission was to ensure the gate remained open. Defend! Defend! The squad leader cried out in panic, while the gate soldiers, confronted by the sudden appearance of goblins, were thrown into disarray. A few dwarven soldiers were already preparing to flee. At that moment, a dwarf clad in a long robe and wielding a massive hammer appeared at the northern city gate. With a powerful swing, he sent Captain Zhen flying, instantly having his health points. The robed dwarf bellowed, "Everyone, hold the city gates steadfastly and await reinforcements. Those who falter will meet their demise." Chapter 201, Sun Tianhua's Might. The long-robed hammer wielder was the quintessential attire of a dwarf city lord. Adorned with bold red characters atop his head, Odingzhu, Lord of the Golden Steel City. As Odingzhu positioned himself at the city gate, the green-hatted goblins hesitated to advance. Lu Yu refrained from issuing further attack orders, as the number of assassin-type summoned beasts was already scarce, and he could not bear to sacrifice them. Moreover, the goblin cavalry was rapidly approaching, making the closure of the city gate impossible. With a thunderous roar, Odingzhu charged towards the goblin cavalry. "You wretched goblins! To dare assault my city is to seek your own demise." He swung his massive hammer, sending 2 goblin cavalrymen, along with their steeds, hurtling through the air. The goblins on horseback were left gravely injured, crashing down several meters away. Had it been an ordinary goblin soldier, that strike would have resulted in instant annihilation. The dwarves guarding the gate, inspired by their lord's valiant display, rallied with fervor and charged at the goblin cavalry. Under their leader's command, 100 goblin horsemen were thrown into disarray, with several even being sent back to the Gourd Valley. Lu Yu watched from the rear, his heart aching. These 100 cavalrymen were treasures, each one invaluable. He reached out to rouse the still slumbering Sun Tianhua. "Elder, awaken. It is your turn to take action." Sun Tianhua, initially intending to reach for the giant egg in his possession, suddenly found himself summoned to the battlefield. A hammer, larger than his head, descended from the sky. By the heavens! Sun Tianhua instantly regained his senses, teleporting 5 meters away, in the spot where he had stood moments before. A colossal crater had been formed by the hammer's impact. A human? Odingzhu, upon recognizing Sun Tianhua's appearance, noted that he was clearly not one of the green-skinned goblins. "Human, why do you infiltrate the goblins to launch a sneak attack on me?" Sun Tianhua retorted. "Thieving son, you should have seen clearly that you struck your own grandfather first. Humph, since you insist on courting death, I shall oblige." Odingzhu raised his hammer once more, aiming it at Sun Tianhua. In haste, Sun Tianhua summoned his shield. The hammer collided with the shield, creating ripples across its surface. Sun Tianhua's expression darkened. He had been enjoying a peaceful slumber, only to be abruptly awakened by a hammer. He felt an urge to curse Lu Yu and his family. However, as Lu Yu's summoned beast, this thought dissipated in an instant. Facing a warrior, particularly one as formidable as a dwarf renowned for strength, Sun Tianhua found himself at a loss for words. Fortunately, he had invested all his points in defense, granting him a modicum of confidence when confronted with the formidable hammer wielded by Odingzhu. "You scoundrel! You are merely relying on the fact that my powerful summoned beasts are no longer at my disposal. Had it been in the past, I would have dispatched you in an instant," Sun Tianhua boasted, while discreetly summoning one of his 2 remaining summoned beasts, the white fox. Unperturbed by Sun Tianhua's taunts, Odingzhu relentlessly swung his massive hammer, striking it against Sun Tianhua's shield. Rather than waste breath, it was far more prudent to exert effort with his hands. Upon summoning the white fox, Sun Tianhua visibly relaxed. Shielded within his protective barrier, he caressed the white fox with one hand, a smug smile gracing his lips. Against a brutish, simple-minded race such as the dwarves, the white fox was truly the ideal nemesis. In Lu Yu's line of sight, a peculiar scene unfolded. Odingzhu swung his hammer vigorously, striking at thin air. Behind him, Sun Tianhua embraced the white fox, wearing a cheerful expression and occasionally cheering him on. This oddly familiar scenario seemed to be an illusion, reminiscent of the conjurations of Widow Wang in the summoning space. She too possessed illusionary skills, yet as Lu Yu rapidly leveled up, the foes he faced grew ever more formidable, rendering Widow Wang's abilities increasingly obsolete. The disparity in levels made it all too easy for illusions to be discerned. However, the White Fox appeared to be less affected by such level disparities. City Lord. A booming voice suddenly called from the battlements, belonging to a dwarf commander who had just extricated himself from dire straits. His health bar was nearly depleted, and his survival was solely due to his equipment's attributes. He had hoped that upon emerging, the City Lord would dispatch the spectral bard of the Netherworld. Yet, to his dismay, he found the City Lord flailing at thin air. Realizing that the City Lord had fallen prey to an illusion, he hastily sought to awaken him. However, despite the cries, Tingzhu seemed utterly oblivious, his hammer still slicing through the air with fervor. Sun Tianhua turned to glance at the dwarf commander on the city wall, a grin spreading across his face. It's futile, old man. The illusion of my summoned beast is no mere trivial skill. The dwarf commander, in a state of utmost urgency, was acutely aware of his precarious situation. He was on the brink of death, at any moment vulnerable to the Netherworld Bard's lethal strike. With the City Lord ensnared in an illusion, if both of them perished, Golden Steel City would be irrevocably lost. The dwarf soldiers, who had previously held their ground against the goblin cavalry, were now succumbing to an overwhelming onslaught as the goblin suicide squads and their yellow-turbaned brethren joined the fray. Moreover, Sun Tianhua had summoned his second beast, a delicate white flower. As the flower bloomed, its fragrance wafted through the air. The goblins, upon inhaling the floral aroma, began to experience a gradual restoration of health, although the effect paled in comparison to the legendary healing of Dream Jiangnan. Lu Yu felt content as long as it provided any semblance of recovery. Otherwise, relying solely on his restoration skills, it would be uncertain how long it would take to restore so many goblins. Sun Tianhua cast a triumphant glance at Lu Yu, his expression seemingly conveying, "What do you think, young man? My summoning abilities are quite formidable, aren't they?" Lu Yu nodded in acknowledgement. The summons collected by this old man were indeed quite exceptional. However, one could not fault Lu Yu, for he had only been in the game for a month, encountering a limited number of wild creatures. Moreover, the quantity of monsters possessing restoration abilities was as rare as the priest class itself. At this moment, Lu Yu felt no fear of revealing his identity. The dwarf NPCs guarding the city, unlike players, did not respawn at the fountain upon death. Death for them was final. Lu Yu could confidently subjugate them, even if he observed that among the siege forces there were not only goblins, but also humans, the undead, and the beast folk. Such information could not be disseminated. The dwarf commander was in a state of great urgency. In any city, the primary defenders should be players, while NPCs primarily served supportive and commanding roles. Yet now, the players had all gone in pursuit of the treasures in the crystal of the Golden Stone, completely unaware of the impending fall of Golden Steel City. No, it was imperative to awaken the City Lord, for he was the key figure. The dwarf commander leapt down from the city wall, landing heavily on the ground. His previously low health had now dwindled to a mere sliver. The Lord of the Undead was waiting for his skill cooldown. In his eyes, the dwarf commander was undoubtedly doomed. Yet, he never anticipated that the dwarf would leap from the wall voluntarily. Chapter 202. Abyss announcement. As soon as the dwarf commander landed, he disregarded the imminent collapse of his body and sprinted with all his might towards the City Lord, Tingzhu. He intended to rouse the City Lord from slumber. If he could not awaken him, he would resort to striking him awake with his hammer. Sun Tianhua swiftly positioned himself in front of the dwarf commander. Having previously suffered the wrath of the dwarf's hammer, having managed to trap him, how could he allow anyone to awaken him? Behind him, the Lord of the Undead also leapt from the city wall, rushing forward with the intent to eliminate the dwarf commander swiftly, to prevent any prolonged troubles. With obstacles ahead and the undead pursuing from behind, the dwarf commander found himself with no escape. He glanced at the hammer in his hand, gritted his teeth, grasped the handle with both hands, and spun his body 360 degrees, forcefully hurling the hammer. Dwarves held their hammers as sacred. Throwing it signified his readiness to embrace death. Sun Tianhua smirked. Even a cornered beast would fight back. He anticipated the trajectory of the thrown hammer and quickly blinked in front of it. His shield remained robust. This blow would not be fatal. However, to everyone's astonishment, the hammer soared through the air, tracing a bizarre arc like a boomerang, grazing Sun Tianhua's body and striking Tingzhu on the leg. Thud! The sound of the hammer colliding with armor resonated clearly. The calf of Tingzhu was distinctly bent, and with a single blow, it rendered one of his legs utterly useless. However, this impact finally roused Tingzhu from his stupor. He then beheld the Lord of the Nether Realm unleashing a sinister orb, which extinguished the last vestiges of vitality from the dwarf commander. Netherfolk, who are you truly? Tingzhu demanded, but Lu Yu paid him no heed. Instead, he raised his hand and cast a healing spell on the Lord of the Nether Realm, replenishing his health to its fullest. Sun Tianhua, lacking prowess in direct combat, relied on the Lord of the Nether Realm to deal with Tingzhu. An 85-level warrior was not easily subdued, especially one who held the title of City Lord, undoubtedly possessing formidable skills. You refrained from speaking, so I shall capture all of you and compel you to reveal the truth. Sun Tianhua chuckled ominously. You, a mere rogue. Think you can subdue us, a multitude of over 10,000? That is quite an ambitious notion. Yet, in the next moment, Sun Tianhua fell silent. An abyssal announcement echoed. Jingang City is under siege by foreign forces, triggering a special quest. Rescue Jingang City. Participants in this quest shall receive a reward of 3 levels and 10 pieces of earth grade, or upon success. Should they fail, all dwarves of Jingang City will be reduced to level 10, and their inventories shall be emptied. Sun Tianhua's countenance darkened considerably upon this announcement. The players of Jingang City would undoubtedly rush back to defend their home. In contrast to Sun Tianhua's dismay, a smile crept upon Lu Yu's face. He had been anticipating this announcement, for it heralded the imminent breach of Jingang City. The announcement was not issued by the city lord, but rather by the Abyss, based on its own assessments, indicating that Jingang City was teetering on the brink of collapse. While Sun Tianhua was entangled with Otingzhu, Lu Yu was not idle. Seizing the opportunity, he summoned goblin warriors from the rear, traversing the chaotic battlefield to storm directly into Jingang City, aiming straight for the city lord's mansion. Once the city lord's mansion fell, Jingang City would be considered breached. The conditions for declaring the city breached were threefold. 1. At least one city gate must be compromised. 2. 80 of the defending soldiers must be slain. 3. The city lord must be killed. Now, only the final condition, the death of the city lord, remained, prompting the Abyss to issue its announcement. Everyone was to band together for a swift resolution. It would take the players of Jingang City over 5 minutes to fly back to the fountain and reach the northern gate. Lu Yu deliberately chose to attack the northern gate, the farthest from the fountain, to delay the players' reinforcements. 5 minutes would suffice to eliminate Otingzhu. At that moment, Otingzhu's eyes blazed with fury, seemingly ablaze with flames as he glared at the masked man. He had come to understand that this man was the supreme commander of the army. Raising his massive hammer, he advanced step by step towards Lu Yu, each stride causing the ground to crack beneath him. Lu Yu remained motionless atop his centaur, observing Otingzhu with evident admiration. The diminutive figure may not be tall, yet the aura it exudes is undeniably formidable. Alas, the skills of the Lord of the Underworld are on the verge of cooling down. Indeed, in the next moment, both the Lord of the Underworld and Otingzhu vanished from sight. Sun Tianhua approached Lu Yu, remarking, "Qingjiu, it appears you have not tamed a healing summoner." Lu Yu nodded, acknowledging that healing had always been his Achilles heel. Back in the novice village, he had gone to great lengths merely to acquire a healing spell. However, as he accumulated an increasing number of summoned beasts, the healing spell gradually proved insufficient. While it remains a premier skill for replenishing the health of boss-level summoned creatures, it falters in chaotic battles involving over 100 participants. "Senior, with your Baihua, I at least possess a healing-type summoner now." Sun Tianhua immediately shook his head. Baihua is more adept at poisoning, and her healing abilities are rather ineffective. I do know of a second-tier healing expert, also a flower. I had intended to capture it. But alas, the limit on the number of creatures from other races had been reached. In the territory of the plant race? Indeed, they do not move. So she should still be in her original location. Lu Yu took note of this and resolved to seek out a map of an evil plant-themed area to investigate further. In a fleeting minute and a half, the Lord of the Underworld and Otingzhu reappeared, both in a state of critical health. Lu Yu was taken aback. It was his first time witnessing the Lord of the Underworld emerge from the besieged space in such a weakened condition. It is worth noting that even Sun Hanyu, adorned in top-tier gear, had endured significant punishment within. Otingzhu gasped for air, clearly in a dire state, likely having utilized a bloodthirsty skill. Now that the effects had worn off, he was in a weakened phase. What are we waiting for? Lu Yu gestured, and the goblins Zhun and Jia charged forth. The skeletal general also spurred his steed into a gallop, while the black-headed eagle let out a piercing cry, diving downward. Otingzhu struggled to swing his hammer, but faced with such a multitude of summoned beasts, he found himself powerless. The artisan god will not spare you, regardless of who you are. The artisan god will uncover the truth. With that, Otingzhu raised his war hammer and, expending all his strength, struck the ground. A tremendous shockwave emanated from the epicenter, instantly tearing Otingzhu to shreds. Subsequently, the boss-level summoned beasts encircling him erupted with immense damage. In an instant, all summoned creatures within a 10-meter radius were left at death's door. This fellow possesses a self-destruct skill. Lu Yu felt a pang of anguish. Otingzhu had essentially taken his own life, choosing not to retreat into Lu Yu's summoning space. He rushed forward and began to search Otingzhu's body, quickly finding a stone resembling an official seal at his waist. Indeed, this was it. Chapter 203, The God of Craftsman Mountain Announcement from the Abyss. The Dwarven clan has breached the Golden Steel City. All items in the possession of the level 10 dwarves from Golden Steel City have been dropped. Announcement from the Abyss. The dwarves originally belonging to Golden Steel City will be automatically reassigned to other secondary main cities of the Dwarven clan in 10 seconds. The two announcements from the Abyss echoed 3 times in succession, leaving the dwarves rushing towards the northern gate utterly bewildered. What on earth is happening? They had merely ventured out for a brief pursuit of the crystallized secrets of the Golden Stone, having left the main city for just a few minutes. And now their home was in peril. To make matters worse, they hadn't even laid eyes on the enemy, yet their home was lost. The most critical aspect was that they remained oblivious to who had orchestrated the fall of Golden Steel City. As the countdown reached 0, the bodies of all dwarves transformed into beams of light, randomly soaring towards other main cities. The Abyss prompted, "You have single-handedly breached the secondary main city of the Dwarven clan, Golden Steel City, earning 1,000 experience points and the medal reward, Lone Brave." Liu Yu held the official seal, which, though modest in size, symbolized the lordship of a city and the very existence of that city. Eagerly, Liu Yu caressed the seal, and a message appeared. Abyss prompt. "You have obtained the original official seal of Golden Steel City. Please choose whether to retain this city. 1. Retain Golden Steel City and automatically